Top of the hour, just after 7 o'clock in San Antonio on this election night 2025. The polls have just closed as of 3 minutes ago. Welcome to our special stream here. I'm Ernie Zuniga.
Alongside me, Myra Arthur, joining you here to bring you all the election night results. This is a unique race in Bexar County. Propositions A and B, so much of it having to do with the new Spurs arena downtown. What happens to the Frost Bank Center if the Spurs do make the move? How does it all roll into Project Marvel? We are going to hear from those who are hoping for a Spurs victory in a new kind of way for Bexar County, and those who are very much against using county funding for that new arena. We got it all covered, including 17 propositions that could change the state constitution. So we want to get to our panelists here who are joining us for the next couple of hours. Our power panel that has been here for years for election night live streams. We have Kevin Wolf, former city councilman and Precinct 3 county commissioner. Thank you for being here. Now look at that. You guys are buddies. Hat on the back.
I didn't wear my hat today.
And DeMonte Alexander, CEO of Citizen Reach. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm the new guy here, so
that's right. And welcome, Ernie Zuniga.
Thank you very much. No, we're going to get this. We're going to get this done. I suspect this is a night that people will talk about for decades to come, depending on how the results play out tonight. And I wonder, just to kind of set the scene, and I guess I can start with you, Kevin. Do you have a sense as to what might be happening right now and how this will play out tonight? If you could look into your crystal ball.
So I have tried my best to figure out which way I think this is going to go, and I have to tell you, I don't know. I do know that it is going to be so impactful on our community, whether it passes or not. Whether it passes, it starts a whole new chapter of the Spurs in downtown. If it doesn't pass, that starts as a whole another piece. So when you look at the city of San Antonio, we talk about economic development, we talk about those types of things, but the Spurs are part of our culture. They're part of our identity. And if you're not from here and you hear anything about San Antonio, you're going to pick one of two things: Spurs or the Alamo. Okay. And so, do we run a risk of losing a piece of our identity tonight? Perhaps so. And if we don't, what is that really going to mean for us as a community in this type of development?
DeMonte, how about you? Are you making any clearer calls?
No, I mean, well, what we can see in the past, typically when we see bonds, people tend to generally go out and support the bonds, and they all pass. I think this has been a little charged up, on both sides, right? But I think this conversation isn't really about venues. I think because whether it's the Spurs or whether it's Via, whoever's next that has a big ticket item that people need to question, this is not about that. This is about a conversation of who gets to dream and who gets to be part of the vision of how you build San Antonio in the future, right? And no matter where this goes, I think we need to we don't need just a new arena and a new Spurs. I think no matter where this goes, we need a new agreement with everyone involved in saying, hey, we need everyone at the table. And not saying that the city and the county and the people didn't go out and outreach in the community, but we need to do deeper. We need to go dive deeper into those conversations and have a longer discussion and help people feel like they're part of the conversation. And I think we wouldn't have that much kickback if it happened that way. But anyway, we can dive into that. But
we have 2 hours.
Yeah, we can dive into that. But I think this it's not about venues and it's not about the Spurs. And I don't think that we can put decades longs of poverty concerns on the Spurs. They're just up next, right? And we'll have that discussion. But we'll dive into that.
I'm interested to see what you think about how this campaign has played out, just given both of the work that you both have done over the years about that. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. We want to get to our John Paul Barajas right now. He is down at Bexar County Election Headquarters. Michelle Carew, the administrator for local elections, gave us an update about 4 o'clock. But we understand that there are still 100 people or maybe more, JP, that are waiting in line right now to vote.
Yeah.
I'm going to drag the levels down.
They couldn't hear me.
To the crowd there, you can see the line of people through the windows, and there is still, let me kind of peek around some of the cars here. It looks like everybody is finally inside the building, but still through the windows, a long line of people waiting to cast their ballots. Obviously, everybody was here before 7 o'clock, so they will have the opportunity to do that. I was told about 5-10 minutes ago roughly 100 people still here at Bexar County Election Headquarters, and over 100 over at UTSA. I was told those were the two busiest, still trying to get everybody who was in line inside to cast their ballot. We were supposed to have a 7 p.m. update from elections officials. That has been postponed. We haven't been given a exact timeline on when they'll give us that update, except for it's not going to be until everyone here, at least here at elections headquarters, has had the opportunity to cast their ballot. So what we know from 4 o'clock is they were saying strong voter turnout at 11 a.m. and at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock is about 16.4% voter turnout, which might not sound like the biggest number to people who aren't all that familiar with it, but at the start of this, elections officials were only really anticipating about a 15 to 18% showing. So at 4 o'clock, already being at above 16%, they're now hoping that we can hit closer to 20%. If we do get that 20% range, that means there'll be about 75,000 election day voters. So time will tell, but obviously things are still moving slowly, but I'm told things are moving smoothly, although slow.
All right, JP, so if I understood this correct, we got 100 people or so in line there, another 100, over 100 at UTSA. So we have, at least in those two locations alone, hundreds of people who are still waiting to vote in this election. Did I get that right?
Ballpark numbers about 200, including both locations. About 100 or so here, maybe a little bit over 100 at UTSA, so somewhere in the 200 range for sure.
That's just those two polling locations. So John Paul will continue to stay there for us and keep an eye on all of that. And as he said, once all of those voters have gone through and cast their ballots, then presumably we'll hear from Michelle.
Yeah, really interested, of course, every election to see how fast we start to see those numbers. We know we'll get those early vote totals first. John Paul, thanks for that. We'll check back in with you throughout the night. So to DeMonte and Kevin.
Yes.
What do you make of voter turnout thus far? I was so interested to see if an issue-based election, but with so much publicized about props A and B, would drive people out more or less than, a candidate-based election.
And in some ways, it absolutely has. If they hit 20 some odd constitutional election piece, I mean, people just don't turn out for those things.
Right, and you can effectively replace a candidate with the Spurs, right? Who's more
Right.
popular than the Spurs, right? So they're at the top of the ticket, if you will. They're the ones that's driving everyone out to the polls. So all those other propositions are going to benefit from this Proposition B being on the ballot, right? All the other 17 from the state, which are pretty cool ones to dive into as well. But I think the Spurs is your top of the ticket right now, and that's what's driving a lot of the. Plus, you had Mr. Holt, Peter Holt at the games. I mean, what better than campaign?
Before the game starts.
Yeah. And so why don't we do that for every election?
We'll see. But do you think a higher voter turnout, higher than expected, favors, pro or for or against in any way?
Well, I think it's tricky because you have Mayor Jones who wants to do a deeper dive and get another assessment and kind of relook at this thing, right? And when you look at election night for her, a lot of those communities who would come out and be a little skeptical about this project, those are her supporters, right? Sure. And so it's hard to tell what turnout is going to be out, because then you have your consistent 4 out of 4 educated Northside voters, and I want to be careful when we say that, because we say that saying like the rest of the city doesn't vote. Well, they do.
Yeah, we do have to be careful.
Right.
With that. You're right.
But it's tricky what the turnout will look like, and so we'll just have to see. But now the polling says something interesting too. There's a lot of voters that are undecided.
Yeah.
So 14 and 15% for both, or voters were still undecided. So that gave the campaign time to message in terms of persuasive message to see, okay, now we see most of these folks are undecided. What messaging can we use to now convince them that we need to support this or not?
Yeah.
I do know the Win Together campaign ran by my good buddy, Andrew Solano. Shout out to Andrew. Done a great job in the mayor's race. They also hired Jennifer Longoria. Jennifer Longoria did 2 presidential races. She's one of the best field organizers we have in the state. And so I know she's on the Win Together campaign. So what that means is when you have someone at that level that knows how to organize the ground and get people out to knock on doors, that drives turnout. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Sorry, we're getting in the weeds and all this stuff. But,
That's why you guys
fired
are
up.
here.
I know.
To lead us into the weeds.
Well, and when you look at the voters, you can almost say that the against voters are far left and far right. You've got
Yeah.
the far right uber conservatives
yeah.
that don't want government spending money on anything.
Right.
You have the far left that is much more interested in things like poverty, etc., and
Right.
and don't want, whether it would happen or not, they think it would happen, that, oh, these dollars could be spent on those types of things.
Yeah.
And so you have two very different philosophies that could end up voting against it. And then you've got that middle that goes to the undecideds. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I don't, you know. So
And,
very interesting.
and to be honest, in every campaign, that's your majority of voters, your undecided
it's-
folks.
sure.
It's
Yeah,
everybody
it's
in the middle.
everybody in the middle,
And
right?
it's a battle of who has the right people that know how to do strategic messaging to convince people, hey, we have more in common than we don't. This is why you should vote for us at this side. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the messaging around these two propositions has been intense. It has been fast and furious in the last couple of weeks. Our Garrett Berger is over at River North Ice House, not far from the KSAT studios, where the Spurs tonight are having their watch party, where they are watching to see what happens with propositions A and B. Is Garrett ready to join us now? I know he has asked for weeks
Yes.
what will happen if one or the other does not pass tonight. And Garrett, the Spurs have maintained they are focused on the success of today. What's going on out there now?
oh, he's not coming across.
As they're exiting the polls at this point. We tried to talk to Peter J. Holt on his way in. Had someone from the Spurs step in, say they're not doing media. The only remarks that we will be getting from them tonight apparently will be coming from that stage behind me. Peter J. Holt stepped on at a little before 7 o'clock and introduced Judge Sakai, though, the county judge, one of the members of the county court that actually helped to put this onto the ballot. He is very much in favor of both Props A and B passing, but told the crowd would have to accept whatever the election results are. Also, surprisingly, in the crowd today was Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones. Now, I say surprising because while the mayor hasn't come out and given a definitive opinion on whether she supports Prop B or not, she has been critical about the current structure of the $1.3 billion funding deal for this new arena, suggesting that the city could negotiate a better deal. And while tonight's vote on Prop B is only on the county portion of the funding, really, the entire deal is on the table because both the Spurs funding of $500 million and overruns, plus the city's up to $489 million, depend on the county portion passing too. So if Prop B goes down, the whole deal, as we've seen it so far, would essentially collapse and leave the team to renegotiate and figure out a new path forward. And at this point, they have not been very open about what might happen if this doesn't pass, saying they're focusing on Prop A and B passing tonight. Now we're going to find out once those election results start coming in what the possibilities are. Now we have heard before from the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo, and they are planning to move forward with year-round programming over on the east side around the Spurs' current home. Now they're Prop A. The whole point behind this is with the Spurs trying to move downtown with Proposition B, the Proposition A would help fund a makeover of the county-owned facilities around the team's current home. So that way, when the Spurs leave, you don't have an Astrodome on the east side, as the county officials have been very fond of saying. They say they don't want an Astrodome over there. They want to make sure the facilities and the area is still being used. The solution they came up with is have more year-round programming for the rodeo. So Prop A would fund some new buildings, renovated buildings, so you get more rodeo-style events, I should say. We're not talking about the February rodeo 12 months a year. They want to bring in things like Olympic qualifiers, Jariadas, and also we've heard the Future Farmers of America convention. So they're looking at that more agriculture-style events, but they want to keep it going around the calendar and not just be there focused in February. The head of the rodeo says with updated facilities, they can bring in some big events. And without the Spurs there to have to coordinate schedules around, it would be a lot easier and open it up. But no matter what happens, if they get funded, if the Prop A passes or fails, if Prop B passes or fails, the Stock Show and Rodeo head has indicated they plan to do more year-round programming because they don't expect the Spurs to stay over on that east side. Now the Spurs They have been quiet about what could happen, and I don't think we're ever going to hear that answer unless Prop B goes down tonight. But we have no way to know which way that's going to go until those results hit. Live at the Spurs watch party, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Yeah, Garrett, I think that we have asked about the same number of times that we have all received mailers about Prop A and B. If this does not pass, do the Spurs leave San Antonio? You're talking about them leaving the east side, which the Rodeo has made clear they plan to, like you said, go year-round. But that's the question really behind all of this. If they don't get the new arena, do the Spurs look at other cities? We don't have the answer to that. Just like the Spurs have been, we got to focus on Prop B tonight and see what happens. And we're still 7:18, 18 minutes past the hour, waiting for those results.
So many moving parts right now. I know Garrett will stand by. The mayor who was with us a little while ago had indicated she might be heading over there as well. So maybe we can get back to Garrett here in just a little bit. But go ahead, Garrett. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the mayor was here briefly. She did not speak. She did say she came in. We saw her talk with the crowd, go up there. It looked like I believe she did get to say hi to Peter Holt on her way out and tried to ask her about her position. Now, it's hard to hear in here, but it sounded like she said she's looking forward to negotiations to whatever the results are from tonight. So she doesn't seem to think that this is the end of it. It's something that she has suggested as well, is that the city portion of that funding also go onto a ballot. That's not a certainty, but it is something she's floated as an idea. So even with tonight's vote, if it passes, it may not be a completely done deal yet. We'll just have to see.
Very good.
All right, Garrett Berger at River North Ice House, an election night watch party with a sports bar-like feel tonight when we are
You
talking.
would think there would be a game on tonight or
Yeah,
something, but there's
yeah.
no game. And we'll check back in with Garrett in a little bit. And that's similar to what the mayor indicated when she was with us here about 45 minutes ago. And he referenced the Astrodome in Houston. And I grew up not far from Houston, and that building still stands dormant 20 plus years after the Astros left to go. And so, people wonder what could happen. Could the Spurs leave town? There's so much writing on how everything plays out tonight.
Yeah. DeMonte, we mentioned those mailers that we have all received over. I come home from work and I feel like there's a stack. Let's talk about the campaign a little bit. What stands out to you about how this campaign has played out for those who were pushing Prop A and B and those who want to vote it down?
Well, it's hard to kind of, usually you're in the back rooms and you're seeing the strategy, but from the way it looks on the outside, I think there were some communication gaps in terms of the way they messaged this program. For example, they've been saying this has been, the tourists will pay for this, right? And so whether you're supportive or not, for me personally, I hope it passes. But my thing is, guys, we have to be transparent and we have to be inclusive and we have to make sure everybody understands what's at stake on the table. And for example, when you talk about this is being paid by tourists, right? It's true, but not true. Because from 1.7 to 2%, they're raising the sales tax, correct? So whether I go to Emma or the Marriott, I'm going to pay that additional tax
You have a
as a
staycation
resident.
or something.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to ask me for my ID and say, "Do you have a Bexar County
Right.
address?" So therefore, I'm contributing as well. Now, someone who would be in support of the project, they would be happy. Maybe we go take like 5 or 6 trips downtown and stay at the hotels if I want to support it, right? But just being more transparent with the messaging, and I think there could have been better ways to do that. The Win Together campaign, I love the fact that it was a win togetherness type of thing. But again, if you're going to have that type of slogan, you got to make it feel like that too, right?
Right.
And so I think there were some challenges with that. But overall, it's a camp. The messaging was pretty static and based on what they were trying to accomplish.
And this wasn't really a campaign messaging issue, but Project Marvel versus the new Spurs arena. There was so much
That's a big piece.
confusion
Yeah.
about those being used interchangeably, and it seemed like the campaign was well underway before that was being really thrown out there as, hey, the Spurs arena is part of the city's larger Project Marvel plan. Kevin, I want you to weigh in on that in just a second.
Stand by.
But right now, we're going to go to our Avery Everett.
Yeah, so she's hanging out with the people of Cops Metro who have been very open in their lack of support, if you will,
Yeah,
for
opposition
this.
to
Their
this.
opposition, thank you very much. And Avery is standing by to bring us up to speed on what is happening there with Cops Metro. Avery, good evening.
Hi, Myra. Hi, Ernie. Friendly spot is definitely dozen to 2 dozen people right behind me over at this Cops Metro watch party. So if you don't already know who Cops Metro is, they are a community group, a coalition, an advocacy coalition made up of community members, and they have taken a stance against Proposition B, mostly because they don't want public funds to be used to finance this downtown possible Spurs arena. Now, they've taken a neutral stance against Proposition A, but one of the other groups that's been one of the loud people opponents of both Proposition B and A is No Project Marl. They are against Proposition A and Proposition B. So that group is having their own watch party. We're told it's going to start within the next 30 minutes, around 7:30 on the west side. Now, both of these groups are adamant that they don't want public funds to be used to fund this type of arena. They want other community projects to be funded instead. And they say this entire deal was done in the back room, and they want the public to be part of the conversation. So like I said, people, this is still filling up. A lot of the people are actually at the polls, and they're coming from the polls. Now, those did just close at 7 o'clock, but we're told this is going to fill up within the next 30 minutes as more people are able to come and get here to the friendly spot. So we'll be here for the rest of the night. We'll also try to stop to that watch party on the west side as well. Myra, Ernie.
All right, Avery, thank you. If a lot of people, from Cops Metro are still at the polls, we know that at the start of the show, 200 plus people were still at the polls. So there is a lot of work to be done at those polling locations. Avery, we'll check back in with you in a little bit from the friendly spot for those who want to see Prop B fail tonight. We'll see if those numbers go in their favor or not.
Yeah, we shall find out soon enough. We're waiting just with everybody else as well. Demonte and Kevin are standing by, and we should mention we have a number of guests, some well-known names locally that are going to be joining us, elected officials. I think the first one, the Councilman Jalen McKee Rodriguez, is standing by. He obviously is very much invested in how this could play out as it relates to the Frostbank Center, the Freeman Coliseum, the east side of town.
What happens to those investments made on the east side? We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back after that. We'll bring in the councilman in here to weigh in on that and keep eyes on those numbers. As soon as we get them, you'll find out. We'll be right back.
Okay, we're just getting started as we continue here with Election Night 2025, and we're still waiting for results to come in. That 7 o'clock presser has been delayed with the elections administrator, so we'll get to her in just a little while. But Councilman Jalen McKee Rodriguez is here from District 2, and we appreciate you being with us tonight to kind of break down what is happening in your words tonight and how you feel this is going to play out and why you've been so passionate about the Props A and B.
For sure. So I'll start off by saying I'm super excited to see the results in New York. I'm rooting for my guy Mamdani. Second to that, of course, here in San Antonio, I think we're all anxious to know what's going to happen with Propositions A and B, especially in District 2. Does Proposition A pass, and does Proposition pass, and does that mean that we have a closer resolution to what happens in and around the Frostbank Center? Either way, I just want to know. I want to get started on the next steps. Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I think there's been so many questions about how the east side is taken care of in this deal, right? Questions about, okay, well, when the Frostbank Center, AT&T Center, SBC Center came around, there was all this promise about economic development that didn't happen. So people questioning why Prop B is a good deal are saying, well, wait a minute. What about the Frost Bank Center? What about the promise of all this growth around there? Do you feel like either one of these props would take care of the east side and really put that growth in motion that hasn't happened yet?
I'll say in short, no. And I think one of the biggest challenges I've had with Proposition B and with the way that the city, county, all has handled Proposition B and the potential Spurs arena is that it was done so hastily. And the goal was to get a vote to the people as quickly as possible. And I think we left out so much of the community in that. And the same thing happened with Proposition A, is that what is going to happen to the Frost Bank Center and Freeman Coliseum needed to be answered as a result. And so the community, if you asked them, what did the promises back in the 90s and early 2000s of economic development mean, they would not have said a year-round rodeo. They would have said that they want shops, retail, food. They would have wanted something that was for and by them.
Have you heard from people on the east side? What do they think? Your constituents think about a year-round rodeo-style event?
That's exactly the feedback that we got at our Project Marvel town hall. We were talking about the propositions, we were talking about Project Marvel as a whole, and I think people really wanted to know, where did this idea come from for a year-round rodeo, and why weren't they included in that? And I think, should either of these propositions fail, if both of them were to fail, I think we have to go back to the drawing board and, rectify all of that.
But one way or the other, do you have to prepare for District 2, your successor eventually, whoever comes after you, that the Spurs are going to leave the Frost Bank Center at some point? Their lease is up in the early 2030s, right? So at some point the team is going to leave that building, correct?
That's their intention.
So how much are you thinking about a reality where they're no longer in that building and could, like she said, a full year-round rodeo type situation kind of bring the economic development that maybe was supposed to come 2 decades ago?
I'll say this, I think that the low-hanging fruit is the rodeo and the stock show, and they're already tenants, and so Spurs moving out means that they get an upgraded spot at the Freeman Coliseum, at the Frost Bank Center. I think we have an opportunity to think a little bit deeper about that. What can this be? What can this money be utilized for? And how do we make it actually benefit the community?
This is just about county funding tonight, these props, right? The city obviously is a big part of this deal to fund a new Spurs arena. While we have you, I know that money is not up for a public vote. What do you want to see out of the city's portion of that deal?
I think there's a few things. I think broadly, we want to make sure that there is a strong community benefits agreement that's informed by the needs and desires of our community. That I don't think we've done a good enough job in our due diligence and community outreach. We have a very broad basis of what we think it could look like, but I think we have so much more work to do. What has not been talked about yet would be displacement plans and how do we prevent folk who live in and around the arena and Project Marvel, including folk in Denver Heights and Dignity Hill and Government Hill, and all those directly downtown. They're going to risk greater property taxes, they're going to risk displacement, and so how can we bake into this agreement protections for them?
Yeah. And are you surprised that it's 7:31 and we still don't really know what's happening out there?
I'll tell you, I was surprised. So in May, when the election results came out almost immediately, it was a little shocking, but I think what we've learned since then, right, is that we don't want people at the polls to be influenced by, by the results they're seeing. We want people to make the choice that's true to their heart, and so hopefully that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Very good.
Councilman, we appreciate your time.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
We
Appreciate
will be
it.
talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
Good to see
okay,
you.
Councilman Jayla McKee Rodriguez, District 2. Very good. Well, you're a new dad, by the way. So he's back to his baby girl.
That's wonderful.
Got a diaper to change or something here pretty soon. That's good times, by the way, as you know. But thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
We are going to take a quick break. We've got more guests waiting in the wings that we will bring on here in just a minute. We'll be back right after this. back to our KSAT Election Night live stream here in the KSAT newsroom. While we are still waiting on results, we have a lot of other things on the ballot aside from Proposition A and B, which, I'll be honest, surprised a lot of voters once they hit the polls. So let's talk about some of those proposed amendments to the state constitution. We are joined by Bexar County Tax Assessor Collector Albert Uresti because we are talking about a lot of tax exemption proposals that are on the ballot. Namely, we've got Proposition 11 and 13 that really focus on upping the exemptions for folks. If those pass, what would they mean for homeowners?
Well, for Proposition 11, it has to do with the 65 and over disabled people. And so that's going to provide an extra up to $500 of extra savings for them. Again, that would be increasing it from $10,000 to $60,000. So it's going to be substantial. If you do the Proposition 13 passes, that's for any homeowner. That'll be about a $400 savings because that'll increase the exemption from $100,000 to $140,000. Main thing to remember is if you get both of them passed and you're 65, you're going to have about a $900 savings in your property taxes. And probably the main thing to remember too is if your home is valued at $200,000 or less, you will no longer pay any property school taxes.
Wow, so it could be for that 65 and older crowd or disabled homeowners as well, it could be a $200,000 property exemption.
Correct.
Tax exemption.
That's correct. And it depends on how long they've had it, their age and what have you, but it can be up to that much. So it's something that's going to provide property tax relief for our seniors and our disabled, but also for the average homeowner. So we're happy about that.
Yeah.
Well, just as you're saying that, I believe we have some of the first results of the evening that are related to some of the propositions that Myra and you just outlined. So, and we're watching these with you in real time, so we'll put those up on the screen right now. And we were just talking about, again, Proposition 10, that amendment letting the legislature temporarily, okay, well, here we go. Here are the results now. For Proposition 10, pretty overwhelming right now.
Yeah, this is for a tax exemption for homes that were destroyed by fire. So this is somebody who's gone through a disaster. Their home is unlivable for at least 30 days after that fire. People overwhelmingly for that, for 89%. I believe we have some results. Proposition 10, that's one that we were talking about to raise the school district property tax exemption for those over 65 or a homeowner that is disabled. Let's take a look at those results. Those, again, as Mr. Uresti mentioned, would up the exemption to $60,000. I have that right?
Yeah, up to $60,000. Go from 10 up to 60,000. I'm kind of surprised. I figured it'd be like 95%.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, Proposition 13, that's the one that would apply to all homeowners to increase the exemption from the current $100,000 value to $140,000. I don't think there's any surprise here. Historically, property tax exemptions, voters say, yes, please exempt more of my home's value. So if they all pass tonight, when could people start to see that exemption?
Well, we're incorporating them into the statements that have gone out already. So what you're going to see on your statement is already including these exemptions. Now, should they fail, then we'd have to go back and send new bills out. But right now we incorporate, same thing we did 2 years ago. We took a chance, incorporated everything because we knew the taxpayers would be approving these exemptions.
Yeah. Anything else that you are watching outside of these props that we mentioned tonight?
Well, I think the other one to watch is Proposition 9 because that's the one that's going to help the small business owner, and that's going to increase the business personal property tax exemption from $2,500 up to $125,000. So for a small business owner, that could mean a savings of up to $2,800 per year. So it's going to be substantial. The only concern is that we know the state is not going to replenish the school portion of it. So, but it's a great thing for our small business owners.
Yeah, that is the question. What happens to funding for public education? Prop 9, that's the one you were just speaking of that really ups that value to...
There's some results right there on Prop 9.
Yeah, so another one that looks like it is going to pass tonight.
Yes, and that's good for the business owners, so we're happy about that.
Does that result again, though, surprise you at all that it's closer than you might have expected?
Well, it depends on, if you're not a business owner, it's probably not as important to you, but if you're a small business owner, it is important, and so I'm not surprised that it's less less favorable than the other two, but still, it's something that's going to help the small business owner.
Yes, very good.
Mr. Uresti, thanks for your time. We appreciate you being on the live stream.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me be here. And again,
Yes, sir.
Ernie, thank you very much for having me.
Very good. All right, enjoy the rest of your election night, sir. We appreciate that.
We're going to take a quick break. We're back right after this.
All right, we are back with our special election night coverage here on KSAT as we continue on. We'll get back to our panel just in a little bit. It's Kevin and DeMonte waiting so patiently here. But we are thrilled to have Bexar County Judge Peter Sakai stop by. This is one stop on a number of stops for you tonight.
You got it. We're trying to cover all our bases tonight, but it's an exciting event, an exciting night, exciting election because the turnout has been extraordinary for election day.
Yeah, we hoped that we would have some results about Prop A and B, which is all about county funding, to talk to you about. But the reason for that, the reason at 7:41 that we don't have those numbers, is people are still waiting in line. We got reports of people waiting over an hour at the Bexar County Elections Office to cast their ballot. What does that say to you about the turnout? This is a local election. There is no person's name on the ballot. This is so issue driven. What do you make of that turnout?
I think a winner in today's election are the voters. This was a low turnout election that obviously is still a low turnout, but for today was extraordinary. And I want the public to understand that the early vote totals will not come out till all polls officially closed, meaning all voters have exited and the polls have officially closed and those results are been turned in. So it could be a long evening.
Yeah.
So we talked to you the other a week ago or so when you were here on our KSAT Q&A, and I wonder if your feelings have changed. Obviously, you've expressed your public support for Project Marvel and Prop B in particular, but have your thoughts or your feelings changed any more? Are you feeling more positive or less positive about what the outcome will be tonight?
Tonight, what's important, and let me be clear, is that as a community, we must come together. We must come together in unity, even though we've had a pretty robust discussion either at the kitchen table in families or in community centers among neighbors. This has been a robust discussion and people are passionate, and today's election turnout is a reflection. And I'm hopeful that that is a reflection of true democracy. People that are coming out can agree to disagree. Now, the key is after today, after those results come in, now let's come together to do what's the common good, the common goal, and the common welfare for our community, then that's what I pledge to as your county judge.
So we have asked you several times over the last couple of weeks, what happens if both of these pass? What happens if one passes, the other doesn't? What happens if they both get voted down? We've thrown all the scenarios your way. So the rodeo told us they're going year round. They have had conversations with you about that. That is happening whether or not Prop A passes.
That's a correct statement.
That's correct. All right. So if Prop B doesn't pass, the rodeo's planning to go year round. What happens if the Spurs?
Well, obviously the county and the Spurs are going to have to regroup and figure out. Now, understand that the Spurs are a tenant of the county at the Frost Bank Center to the year 2032, and I expect them to respect their lease and follow through. So we have a 6-year ramp up, even if the Spurs find a alternative to go out of the Frost Bank Center. But I believe today's Proposition B is crucial to keep the Spurs in town. We cannot lose the Spurs. They're too valuable as a major employer, as a corporate citizen, and a philanthropic contributor to our community.
So if either one of these fail, does that mean that if A fails, does that mean that the county cannot use that venue tax to help the rodeo go year round there, and that if B fails, it could not use up to $311 million?
The
for
law
a new arena?
requires that the voters must approve all use of the county venue tax. That's what's unique about the county venue tax. We need voter approval. So if we're to expend it at any time in the future, we're going to have to call another election.
But that would take some time, obviously, to put all that together.
They got a 6-year ramp up.
Well,
Spurs
in
are-
theory, if the Spurs don't buy out the rest of the lease or whatever, but I think we would agree if Prop B does not pass. I mean, tomorrow morning, there will be markets all over some of these markets around the country that are going to be calling, looking for the Spurs.
That's the reality of today's market, is that the Spurs are a business. They are a valuable business. And they, in my opinion, are on the road back to the championship level that they are accustomed to. So they're too valuable as a corporate citizen, as a major employer, as a philanthropic corporation, that we cannot afford to lose the Spurs.
Judge Sakai, we appreciate you being here. You got
Thank you,
lots of
Judge.
stops, so thanks for making time for us.
All right.
Okay, very
All
good.
right. Before you take off, DeMonte and Kevin, do you have any questions for the judge?
No, Judge, I like what you're saying in regards to expecting the Spurs to live up to their lease, and your desire that should things not go the way I know you and I both support, that don't lose all hope. We'll keep charging.
Oh yeah, it's called the art of possibility, Kevin.
There you go.
That's something I learned from you and your dad.
There you go.
Yeah, Judge, not more of a question, but more of a comment. Yeah, when this conversation first popped up, I know you came out and said, "Hey, let's make the East Side whole," and so I definitely, I think a lot of folks on both sides really appreciate that, because we all remember that. And what I was explaining to Myra, I think we don't have to see the rodeos as an end-all be-all. It could be a seed for future investment. It could just
Monty,
be
you've
the
got
start.
the vision for the East Side. Is that what we're trying to do is create an economic generator over there with a major partner, the San Antonio Rodeo, and really reformat that whole area so that it becomes an entertainment center. We could multi-purpose venues. We turn those barns with dirt floors into multi-use venues. I put on the table the Willow Springs Golf Course, so stay tuned for the possibilities of what can happen to the East Side in the revitalization.
Yeah, and Myra, that's what I was talking about messaging on the campaign. I don't think we had time to go deep enough into those conversations, those intricacies that say, okay, hey, this is the rodeo being here is not our plan. And saying, hey, here's your rodeo, we fixed that, right? It's hey, this is the start, and this is the broader vision of what that looks like. What I'm hoping, I think what most people hope, that we can do that together with the community. It's not being sold to them, it's being done with them in partnership, and that vision, they can see some of their ideas implemented into that plan.
DeMonte, you're spot on, because I believe the misinformation or the confusion was Project Marvel. This was not a Project Marvel project. That is a city of San Antonio. This was a county venue tax, a tourist tax to support the county facilities, Proposition A, and whatever we had left with a cap, and the Spurs covered all cost overruns for B, for a new Spurs arena. So I truly have full confidence in the voters tonight.
All right. We will
Thank you,
see.
Judge. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you,
Four of
guys.
them waiting
All
to
right.
cast a ballot. Judge,
Thank you,
thanks for your
Judge.
time.
Appreciate it. All right, very good. Bear County Judge Peter Sakai joining us here for a few minutes. And we've got more special guests to get to here in just a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a few.
Got it.
All right, welcome back to your KSAT election night live stream. Still waiting on results from Bexar County. Election day totals, early vote as well. More people still standing in line, but we do have some results, statewide numbers on some of these constitutional amendment propositions. This was an interesting one. Bail reform for Proposition 3 here. It would deny bail for certain felonies. That would be murder, aggravated assault, indecency with a child. Prosecution would basically have to prove that bail isn't enough to prevent someone from being a flight risk or a public safety risk. 63% of Texans right now for that proposition. That is one that I know we've talked a lot with local justice officials here about what that would mean for Bexar County.
Jail capacity.
Jail capacity was something that local leaders kept pointing to. That's already an issue. How would this play into that? We will have to wait and see. Looks like that one is going to pass.
So 2-1 essentially for Prop 3 right now. Of course, these are statewide numbers, as Myra said, but that is the situation there. And also you were talking about Proposition 4 involving water infrastructure funding. We've talked a lot about water in our area in recent months.
Yeah, so this would create a $20 billion fund over the next 2 decades, using up to $1 billion in sales tax revenue to put into a Texas water fund starting in 2027. 69% of people across Texas for that to really shore up water infrastructure and supply across the state. It's an issue not just here in South Texas.
Right.
For sure.
So those are just two of the propositions that we've been highlighting at the statewide level. And again, we're still waiting. We're almost an hour now. Polls were officially set to close at 7 o'clock, but John Paul Barajas came on the top of the hour and indicated that there were hundreds of voters still in line. And as the judge mentioned just a moment ago, the polls will not officially close, of course, until all of them have had their chance to cast their ballots.
Yeah, absolutely. We have guests, though, who are ready to come on our live stream, and somebody who's talked a lot about water infrastructure. The importance of that is former Mayor Ron Nierenberg joining us here. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. We're going to have you right here, right in the middle of the fray, between the panelists, between me and Ernie.
That's where I'm used to be.
Oh, well, good. You'll feel right at home then. So we're still waiting for Props A and B. This is something that you, in your time as mayor, really wanted to see get across the finish line. So what are you thinking about tonight as we wait on these numbers?
Well, I'm first of all, I'm grateful that there's so many people at the polls making their voices heard. I think they recognize the moment that we're in and what an enormous opportunity this is for the future of San Antonio, the future of the county, the future of this region, to meet our aspirational goals. A lot of these things that we've been talking about with Project Marvel downtown, as well as on the east side, are things that we've been talking about for decades. They've been in plans. They've been in our minds for a long time, actually in paper for the Hemisphere project. And so this is an opportunity for us to accomplish those goals using revenue from the visitor industry as well as the Spurs' own investment themselves. Without money coming from property taxpayers, residents here of San Antonio, I think this is a win-win. There's been a lot of noise, as there always has been, or always is during a political season, but I think people coming out to the polls shows that they've been attuned to the information and they want to make their voice heard, and that's good for everybody.
So from your seat, if one or both of the propositions were to not pass tonight, were to fail, what does that mean? How devastating is that? What happens going forward?
So always thinking when we put these things together that we want to go out and win approval. And so only thinking about the positive right now, Ernie, but obviously we have to plan for any outcome. We will move forward one way or the other with this community, and if one of these propositions has a little bit of turbulence, it doesn't take away the dreams and aspirations that this community continues to have. That's the thing, is that Prop A and Prop B represent the means by which we can accomplish our goals. If Prop A or Prop B doesn't happen tonight, it doesn't take away those goals. So we got to figure out as a community how we continue to move forward. I believe we will. It will be critically important that we have the right leadership at the table to make sure that that happens.
You mentioned this not coming from property taxes, but part of the city's funding, which is not up for a vote, we're talking about county dollars tonight, part of the city funding is looking at potential property growth because of this project. What do you say to critics who say, well, wait a minute, there is an aspect of this that would be funded by property tax growth?
So that you're referring to the TERS, the
Yes.
tax increment revenue zone. And what I will say to that is that that is property tax growth in a zone that right now has no activity on it. And so the Spurs guaranteed of investment to create that economic growth is what's producing the increment to actually pay for the arena. So without Project Marvel, without the Spurs investment, that revenue doesn't exist. So that's why I think this is such an enormous opportunity for us. We're using the Spurs investment to accomplish and to invest in the things that we've said we wanted to do already.
Kevin
Gentlemen, do you
Wolf,
have-
yeah, DeMonte, do either of you have anything you'd like to ask?
No, I think
Mayor?
the way the mayor explained the TERS is right on. It's almost as if the property tax from the local taxpayer is the Spurs. So, so you know, they develop it. It's their property tax that they're going to be paying for that. The other thing I wanted to mention and put you a little bit on the spot here is, you know, the county is losing its number one tenant. They're trying to replace that with a new number one tenant, would be the Rodeo. But the dream of the east side was not the Rodeo, it was not basketball, it was the development in and around that area. And the city of San Antonio can be very helpful in that, whether it's how you handle between the county, Willow Springs Golf Course, how you work with TxDOT in regards to ingress and egress off of 35 there, because we all know it's a nightmare getting off of there. You know, how do you see that playing out? Because I don't think without those types of things in that area, just the Rodeo piece doesn't pull it off.
Yeah, well, first on the county losing a tenant and the city gaining one, let's remind everybody the city is the county.
Yep.
And so we all gain when our community moves forward together. And that's why even back to Judge Wolf and I, when we started talking about this idea, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't the city and the county doing things separately. We wanted to present a unified plan to make sure that everyone benefits. And so as it relates to the development and the economic revitalization and accomplishing the dreams that we've had, residents of the east side have had for the community for a long time, the city has invested, whether it's our land or not. In the case of Willow Springs, that is an opportunity for the city and the county to move forward together on a unified plan, but I will be very clear about this. It cannot move forward unless it's the residents of the east side that are creating the plan. That's why it's really important for the community to be at the table. This is really just a starting point tonight. If we continue to move forward, the residents of the east side will continue to need to be at the table, engaged all the way through the life of even the construction and the activation of whatever we plan on the east side through those dollars.
DeMonte, that's a lot of what you mentioned tonight, that this
Correct.
is a starting point. The rodeo is not the end-all be-all for
Right.
what the east side could be.
Right, and I think, well, number one, let me go back to the terrorists. That's so important, and I think that's what's been a big issue with the messaging is people don't know who's funding what it goes to, what can we pay with it, and I think understanding that we need to generate that activity in those zones to create those taxes to then invest, right? And when you talk about, this is beyond the arena being finished. There's multiple investments continue to happen downtown that creates more tax for more investments. Now that's downtown. The east side is a completely different conversation that I think will take a lot of work, a lot of conversations, hopefully with the community, as former mayor mentioned. But I couldn't agree more with his comments on as far as the tourism, as far as doing it with the community, not for them, not to them.
There's a KSAT Explains for the Project Marvel, by the way, and a whole one on TERS for those interested.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I love KSAT
Mayor, gotta
Explains.
ask you. Okay, you said after this election you were going to decide about your future. It's been out there that you were planning to run for county judge. You haven't confirmed it. Have you made a decision on that?
My focus right now tonight is let's get this
you're about to
election
sound
under the
like
belt.
Spurs.
But I will have an announcement next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
All right, well, we will look for that.
You're more than welcome to come here, by the way, if you'd like to make it here.
And make
So,
that, yeah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Mayor. Good to see
I
you.
certainly
Good to see
appreciate
you.
your time.
All right,
thanks
very
so much.
good.
Thanks.
All right,
Good to
we're
see
going
you,
to
sir.
take another
Yes, sir.
quick
Yes, sir.
break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Yeah.
All right, we are an hour after polls have closed, and people in Bexar County are still in line as we speak, waiting to cast their ballot. That is why we don't have results. We are waiting for the last voters to be able to weigh in on this election.
Yeah, we're not sitting on the numbers or anything by any means and drawing this out. We are, again, we're watching this in real time with you. And someone who has an even closer look at all of this is our John Paul Barajas, who's at the election administration office this evening here, getting us caught up on the line that was out there. And John Paul, why we still haven't seen any numbers yet?
Yeah, we've heard it multiple times. I heard the judge say it to you guys. I've heard it from county officials out here that prepare for a long night. I think a large portion of today we saw quick movement, smooth movement throughout the lines, especially here at headquarters. I just want to kind of give a comparison. So at the start of this live stream at 7 o'clock, everybody was inside the doors, but this first set of windows, Everett, if you can pan into there was still a line of people past that. If we move down to the second set of windows, That's where you see the next group of people. Then we have a third set before they go into the tabulation or to go cast their ballot. So we've definitely made some progress. There's still a handful of people trying to get in to cast their ballot. And as the judge said earlier as well, we're not going to get those early voting numbers because although you cannot get in line anymore to cast a ballot, the polls are technically still open until everybody has put in their vote. We do have a county elections official out here, so I'm just going to ask her if there's any update you'd like to give us. She's coming this way. We got lucky. This is great TV timing. I've been on the opposite end of TV timing before. How's it going? So just trying to check in.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you all know that we still have several individuals that are still waiting in line to vote, but we're hoping to be able to have some updates shortly.
Any timeline? I know it's kind of up in the air, but any timeline or estimated timeline on when they might wrap up?
No, not at this time.
Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. One more quick question. As far as things we've seen, I know earlier we said no real issues besides cell phones being taken into the polling locations. Right now, have we seen any other issues or things?
No issues. Just a lot of people still waiting to vote, and we still have some long lines, but they'll get their chance to vote.
At 7 o'clock, you told me things were still moving smoothly. That's the case. Any reason as to why the backlog now? Is it just a lot of people coming in towards the end of the election day?
I honestly don't know. I do believe it's that, part of that is the reason. A lot of people just got off work and now they're going to go vote.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we just got the update right there. Still have to play the waiting game, but according to elections officials, things are still moving smoothly. And we've seen it continue to progress, but obviously things running smoothly, but slowly. Guys?
Yeah. All right, John Paul, hearing from Monica Ramos there, who works with their county and their communications, getting information out to folks like us to talk about what is going on here. And you mentioned, John Paul, that everybody we see in line behind you there, silhouettes now, because it's well after dark, those were people that were in line at 7 o'clock. If you were in line at 7 o'clock, you can stay and take as long as it takes to make sure that you cast your ballot. I think that says a lot about people who are still out there waiting to weigh in on this.
Well, I think a few things fell into place. The weather was great. You don't have a Spurs game or a major other event, to kind of take away from voter turnout. And I don't think
it's
anybody's
not happening during Fiesta. So
correct.
That's
That's yes, exactly. You were here when the Flambeau Parade was here the last time you guys were here together. So John Paul will continue to keep an eye on everything for us, and we will check back with him in just a little bit. So, we'll continue here. We have DeMonte and Kevin, and we're looking at some other numbers coming in from. There's other races around the country, obviously, that people are paying attention to as well. So.
Yeah, some people waiting in the wings to weigh in on this race are paying attention to what's happening across the country. Are we ready to head out to, we're not ready to head to Freeman Coliseum yet. That's where the Rodeo is standing by. Our Zaria Oates is looking to talk to those folks. But we do have a guest joining us.
Come on in. Dr. Sup Kaur, District 1 Council member.
Yes.
Come on over here.
Yeah, we'll have you scoot over.
We'll get you
on
over
this
there
side.
so Myra can give you the microphone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, okay, so, it's hard to weigh in on numbers that you don't have, but what are you excited for tonight? What are you a little bit anxious about? All of the above.
So I'm going to go ahead and take what we call on the dais a point of personal privilege because I just saw one of your support folks shared that early vote numbers. Is that early vote or full vote?
Full 36%.
36% of the vote is in New York City, and Mamdani is leading that mayoral election 51.52. I want to say that I am here as an individual and not on behalf of the city or on city resources on my own time, and I am thrilled to see that result. As a fellow Indian, the first South Asian American on the dais in San Antonio, I am so overjoyed right now because that has been a historic campaign. It's going to be a historic win for him and all of the residents of New York City, and I can't wait to see what he does. So.
Yeah, you gave a
I'm
little
very
excited.
excited.
You gotta catch your breath.
If y'all heard that in the background, I have been really anxious about that. So I'm very glad to see those results.
So what happens here in Bexar County with Props A and B, that has the potential to be historic for San Antonio, opening up a whole new chapter. You represent parts of downtown. What would that mean for downtown if Prop B in particular passes?
Yeah, so as representing Hemisphere, where I should be every day because I work out there, I love seeing the growth and the community that gathers there. That park gets representation from our whole city. So it might be located in D1, and I'm proud to be able to represent it. But really, every single one of my council colleagues gets to have a share in this if it comes to fruition. And I really hope it does, because it's going to mean economic development for that part of downtown that was such an historic part of our downtown. So we just heard the mayor and judge talk. There is so much potential in that park, and quite frankly, it's been a little slow in getting it developed. And so we're really hoping that this can help spur that development, build up that tour so that we can see all the folks not only gathering at Yanaguana Park, but also for the Spurs games.
You and I visited not too long ago in Hemisphere, and you were kind of talking about envisioning a scene in a few years where the Spurs were in the NBA Finals in your portrayal, but that people will be walking after a game and enjoying everything downtown. As it relates to competing with the other major markets around the country, especially those with sports teams, how critical is what happens tonight to making that happen?
It is so critical. And, you know, where do we go to celebrate when the Spurs are actually winning? It's downtown. We had a historic start to the year, 5-0 run. We had a tough loss on Sunday, but I know the Spurs have the team and it's built a really strong, young but mighty team that's going to take us far. But we want to celebrate. They're a part of our culture. They are who you go travel anywhere and they're like, oh, San Antonio, yeah, we love the Spurs. And so I think we have to continue to maintain that excitement and try to bring that downtown.
So if Prop B were to pass, no pun intended, but very much intended, ball is kind of in city's court at this point in terms of what happens with the city's portion of the funding moving forward. There's been a lot of talk from our panelists here tonight, from the former mayor, from the county judge, about how do we do this all together as a city? How do we do it not just so that it's the folks in D1 who are represented? In your capacity on the city council, what's important for you when you look at bringing in folks from all the districts to really be part of this investment?
Absolutely. So one of the things we've been advocating for is a joint city-county task force that can really help move the community benefits agreement forward. This community benefits agreement is historic. We were able to negotiate up to $75 million of benefit for the community, but that hasn't been determined yet of how it should be
And that's
split.
money coming from the Spurs,
yes,
to be clear.
Yes, money coming from the Spurs to help support the priorities that our community has laid out. But those priorities have still yet to be developed and fleshed out. And so it was mentioned earlier that there's a lot of community engagement that needs to be done. And not only does it need to be done on the east side, but it also needs to be done for downtown and the whole community. So if we could have a joint task force, which we have done before, we could both appoint folks to that task force, and then it would be representative of both the city and the county. Hence, to your point of doing this together. There's no other way that I see this possible aside from doing it together.
I want to turn to our panelists, see if either Kevin or DeMonte.
I'll take it. Thanks for being here. So as someone who's actually served in District 1 as a Deputy Chief of Staff, and so I'm very familiar with that community. You've done a great job with them. And as you know, it's very intricate downtown because you have the corporate business community, but you have these surrounding neighborhoods all the way around downtown that you have to adhere to their issues too. And so regardless of what happens tonight, how do you, representing neighborhoods all across in every district almost, and the downtown interest, how do you kind of rally everyone forward and keeping that conversation moving forward together like you mentioned?
Yeah. So I always say that the District 1 representative has the awesome challenge, but also challenge of representing basically all the different communities in the city. Yeah. Like you mentioned, we have the Central Business District, but we also have the most historic neighborhoods in the entire state. And so there is a lot that we have to consider when we're pushing things forward. And surprisingly, of the two entertainment deals that have just happened, the baseball stadium with 5 Points neighborhood being right next to it, and the Spurs Arena with Lavaca being right next to it, as far as neighborhoods I represent, both know the challenges that comes with construction. Y'all said it earlier, man. Everyone knows the challenges in my district that comes with construction, and are still really excited about it because they see the potential. And so, yes, Lavaca, the thing that they have asked about is sidewalks and streets and sidewalks, and really actually doubling down on sidewalks. I said this a million times, but regardless of what happens on this, we have priorities that our communities need, and I think we figure out a way to move together, focusing on those priorities, and then seeing how we can come back to the table to figure out another way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Councilmember, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Did you have a question, Kevin?
Just real quickly, let's assume Prop B passes, and I absolutely hope it does. You guys have to take the next step early next year, and that's the rest of the funding, not just for the arena, but for the rest of Marvel. That's going to be another battle. Okay, a battle that so far your council has been able to overcome and pass these things. Are you ready for that next battle?
Absolutely, and what city staff will tell you is that Project Marvel is more than just the arena. We could argue about how it was rolled out and whether it was confusing and would we do things differently again? Probably. But we still have to move forward on a convention center. We know we have to be competitive in the Texas landscape, and that requires us to upgrade the convention center. So we're going to have to put some resources into that. The Alamo Dome needs an upgrade on concessions, potentially HVAC if you've been there recently. And so we've got to continue forward with some of those projects. And if it does pass, then we're going to focus also on making sure that every decision we make is really, really necessary. And so I'll bring up a controversial one, the Saws Chiller plant. We have to really do a pros and cons analysis on whether this is the time, whether we have the resources as a community to move that, and whether or not we can find another way. And my hunch on that is we can find another way.
So you're going to get a lot of pressure from certain areas that, oh, well, you need to put this on the ballot. And I will tell you that's a mistake. Okay, you and your colleagues were elected to make these decisions, and it's within your power to make those decisions. And if you want it from just a fiscal conservative standpoint, an election like this costs you $2 million. I don't want you spending my $2 of that $2 million to hold an election you don't need to have when I elected you in the first place to make the decision.
There you go. Hey.
Thanks for the advice.
You heard it from the former commissioner and councilman himself. Councilwoman Sue.
Well-respected leader.
Yes,
Thank you so much
for being here. We
Appreciate
your time.
Thank you. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we are standing by. We've got a couple things we're monitoring right now. Dr. Shakur there with us from District 1. We have, I believe, a live picture from UTSA where John Paul had kind of hinted at a long line out there, so we're hoping to get to that in just a little bit. And we're told that Michelle Carew or the elections office could be set to give us an update here at any moment. And again, we're still waiting for the first results on Props A and B.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, you two.
Yeah, I want to.
You're going to have to quiet down. All right, so we are waiting. Landon's going to let us know when the elections administrator is going to give us that update. Correct, she's not ready just yet. Is that what we understand, Landon? We're
standing by, so we'll jump in.
We're standing by. All right, we got a lot of moving parts, which is always the fun part about this live stream.
I hand you my cell phones.
Oh, she's getting mic'd up right now. So there she is. That's Michelle Carew, the elections
That way.
administrator.
Okay, we'll see if she does have some numbers. It's 8:16 p.m. If anybody thought this is a ho-hum election, we're going to get these results
No, not
soon.
a lot.
Right.
Joke's
Since
on
moving
you. We
here,
are still
yes.
waiting. 8:16, Michelle Carew,
Let me know when
elections
y'all are all
administrator. We are
She's
ready.
got her
as
legal
soon
pad
as,
ready.
Yeah, we're
That's-
ready as soon as she is. Last time that she gave an update like this, what was that, back in
No.
June?
Yeah.
We got some numbers, so I'm hoping
Oh.
that that is the case tonight. Still no indication about early vote or otherwise for propositions
Oompa Loompa,
A and
Smurf.
B.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, she ready?
Hey guys, I can hear y'all talking. She's getting ready. We'll be ready here in just a few moments.
Okay.
She's going to read off some results. Michelle, you.
I'll start with Prop A, Prop B.
She's going to start off with Prop A, Prop B. We're doing this old school. Get pens and papers ready.
Yes.
All right, we don't mind it.
Yeah.
We're just making sure all the other media outlets are ready to go before we get kicked off here. So give us just a few more minutes.
John Paul, as she's setting up.
Right back up.
How's that line looking out there?
That line, I don't want to ask the photographer to move just because he's got her in frame, but that
No,
line
you can
is
just tell
no
me.
longer existent. So things are.
It's shortly.
the
There's
things
still
are
a short
moving
line right
smoothly.
now. Right.
Michelle, what would you say about that line? At 7 o'clock, we still had a long line.
At 7 o'clock, I believe we had 112 people in line here. So across the county, we had several hundred in line. And I didn't even get a chance to add it up, but anywhere between 500 and 750.
I was
as a
talking to
guesstimate.
Monica a little bit earlier. Any reason on why you think such the backlog right at the end of Election Day?
I just think the voters were excited to come out and vote. I mean, like we mentioned earlier this afternoon, as long as they were in line by 7 o'clock, they'd be eligible to cast a ballot.
That's
And
certainly the
they
case,
came
and
out.
we're waiting on them.
We are.
We're
we
happy
are.
to do so. We're
Yeah.
glad they showed up.
For sure, I'm happy. My last check before I came out here for today was a little over 98,000 voted early. I'm sorry, on election day.
98,000 election
And
day
counting,
voters.
and counting. So we're inching towards 100,000 for today.
So at 4 o'clock, you were saying that we were hoping for 20% voter turnout, which would have been around 75,000, correct?
No, 75,000 put us for the entire time about 18 or 19%.
18, 19, okay.
Yes, but I didn't even look at the percentage before I walked out, so I'm sorry.
But as far as what we were expecting, we've shattered what we were
We
hoping
have.
for.
We've already shattered 2023 numbers for Election Day. I believe we surpassed that at 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I think everybody else is ready.
Yeah.
Well, drum roll.
Okay.
Drum
Let
roll,
me know.
I think we're ready, Michelle.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us and for being patient with us. I know that everyone's on pins and needles, so I'm going to bypass, I should say, all of the constitutional amendments and go straight to Prop A for Bexar County. These are early voting numbers that do include ballot by mail. So Prop A, we had 57.474 Prop A and 42.53 against Prop A. For Prop B, we have 53.05 for Prop B and 46.95 against Prop B. For the mayor of Converse, we have Al Suarez ahead with 53.06%. For City of Shirts, council member place 2, Michelle Watson is at 69.66%. For Prop A for City of Shirts, we have 95.18 that said no for Prop A. For City of Windcrest Mayor with 54.10%, Dan Reese is ahead. For place 4, City of Windcrest with 56.37%, Rainbow Presti is ahead in that race. For place 5, City of Windcrest, our leader in that with 41.45% is Rick Cockrum. For Measure A, City of Windcrest, they have 72.14%. Moving on to Bernie ISD Prop A, it currently is at 57.69% for. For East Central ISD, for Prop A, against is at 55.07. For Northeast ISD, 59.99%, we have for Prop A. For Prop B, we have 56.51 for. For Northeast ISD Prop C, we have 4 at 50.13%. For Prop D, 53% are against Prop D.
All right, so Michelle Carew there, the elections administrator for Bexar County, giving us our first results of the night. And we'll continue to monitor what she is saying there. But I think the headline, obviously, are Props A and B. And Devontae and Kevin are kind of digesting these numbers as we took them in, like John Paul said, old school.
Yeah, kicking it old school here with actual pen and paper. So Prop A, this is the one that would use county dollars to close to $200 million for the Frost Bank Center and Freeman Coliseum grounds, turning it into year-round rodeo-style events. For right now, 57.4%. Against 42.5%.
This is early voting.
Prop. This is early.
Just
yes,
early
we should
voting.
say that. Yeah, early vote totals. All right, Prop B. This is the big one. This is the county dollars up to $311 million for a new Spurs arena downtown. Right now, for that, 53% of the vote, with just about 47% of the vote against, 46.95.
right,
It is
so-
close in terms of the numbers.
First glance,
Take it away, DeMonte.
what does this mean?
Yeah.
First glance, Proposition A looks like it's going to be it's locked in. It's going to pass. What you're looking for, if you're losing, you want to be within a margin of error of 4% or so, 4 points or so. And so, as you can see on Prop B, they're just outside of that. You're still not comfortable, but it's hard to make that up on Election Day. So they need to be at maybe
even with 100,000 people voting today.
right. So well, with 100,000 people voting today, the opposition party needs to win about 80 to 20, 90, 10, 80, 20 today in favor and against.
Right.
And that's really hard to make up.
So yeah,
You feel the same?
agreed. A is a done deal.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't matter what election day vote shows. Okay. B is within the margin as talked about. There is a slim chance that the anti-vote could make up that ground, but it is a slim chance.
53 to 47 roughly right now.
Yeah.
For B.
Your general rule is if you're at 54 or above, you're done.
It's a lock.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
All right. And you were saying, even with the 100,000 people voting today,
Absolutely.
the opposition needs 80% of those folks to be on their team for this thing to fail.
The math is mathing right now.
The math is mathing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So again, to be
Math is
clear, it would appear based on what you have just said that both A and B will pass tonight.
Unless B has a Hail Mary. And with 2 seconds left.
We can guarantee A. We can give you a 90% guarantee with the B.
Okay. Okay.
Do you feel like this from polling you guys saw and paid attention to?
Absolutely.
Is this reflecting that?
So from the polling that I saw, the limited polling that was out there, so there was a lot of folks who were undecided, right? I think 15% for Prop A, 14% were undecided for Prop B. And so it becomes a battle of persuasive messaging at that point, right? Because that's a huge chunk. 15% is a huge chunk of people who just didn't know when they were polled October 3rd, I believe. And so for them to pull those voters on their side, like I said, you just have to convince voters on why you believe that you're right and pull them over to your side. And I think that's what you saw here today, as far as how the vote turned out.
And again, when you look at the campaigns, and we can talk about those later if you want, you had a very well-funded campaign in regards to the Spurs. However, they had two hills to climb. They had the messaging hill of Marvel getting mixed in with this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And of course, then the traditional piece of, hey, I need you to come vote for this. So if
Did they struggle with that early on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if bang for the buck, the antis got much more out of their $200,000
I see what you're
in
saying.
anti-campaign efficiency.
Yes.
Okay. Rather than the Spurs and the $7 million.
Because when you look at it, when you dissect the campaign at the end, you look at the spend, the dollar per vote, what it costs for you to get one vote, and $7 million to be at 53%. You're like, So that has to say there was a disconnect somewhere, right? Now, I think by sheer volume and sheer the resources you had to throw into the campaign, it kind of pushed them across. But when you spend that much money, and if the messaging is right and you're in a good flow, you should see about 68% of that.
You spent half of what was spent with the same strategy.
Yeah.
These percentages could be flipped.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the 7 million, you can reach as many. You have unlimited resources to the sophisticated voter outreach programs. And so
these are some of the results, by the way, that we've just outlined, just kind of in graphic form right there. So it was no accident that Peter J. Holt, Manu Ginobili, I mean, even Eva Longoria got on.
Absolutely.
And you saw.
That was key. I mean, I love Peter, but good grief, last night I couldn't get a channel that didn't have him on it.
This one included.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we mentioned those mailers earlier. I mean, it was 2 and 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Well, that's the benefit of having 7 million.
Sure.
So now you see the difference between a $200,000 campaign that has to do a countywide race. You don't have enough walkers. You can only sell so many mailers. I mean, you're talking about 2 million people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a game of money.
Yeah. All right, our first glimpse at early vote totals here in Bexar County for those much anticipated props A and B. We're going to check back in at the elections office to see where things stand now after a quick break. getting a clearer picture of what tonight is looking like after we got some early vote totals for Props A and B. Proposition A, the one looking at a year-round rodeo-style event, looks like it's well in hand for those folks, 57% for that one tonight.
Yep.
And our Zaria Oates is with the rodeo folks, who I imagine are celebrating these early vote totals. She is over at Freeman Coliseum, which would be one of the venues, and its neighbor, Frost Bank Center, that would receive some of this county funding to accomplish the rodeo's goals. Zaria, what's the reaction out there tonight?
Hey, the reaction was crazy. Everybody was so excited. We've been out here for about an hour now when people have just been anticipating what those results were going to look like. And now we know that Proposition A is looking very likely to pass. We've actually got the rodeo man himself here. If he can break away for just a second. We did have him planned. Can you tell us just a little bit about why it was so important to have this event tonight?
Oh, I think we need the motivation. I run a volunteer organization. So when you have 7,000 volunteers and they show up like this on their own time to come down here and support what we believe in, this is how we thrive. This is how we build momentum, is to get together like this with a common belief. So having them all down here supporting this cause like this, it's motivating.
What was that initial reaction when you saw those numbers for Proposition A come through?
I laugh all the time. I was hired to run a rodeo, and somehow I got tied up in this stuff. So it's a new world to me. I haven't felt this much energy in a long time. I believe so much in this plan, and I believe so much in the east side, the good that we can do here. I believe in this rodeo. So this was a gift to be set up in this type of a scenario and have the dominoes fall in the manner they have with our Bexar County citizens supporting us like this. I can't even describe, the feeling right now.
That's awesome. And lastly, you have so many people out here tonight from different walks of life, but who all come together with the rodeo. They're cheering because they can see us up on the screen. But you have so many people here from so many different walks of life. Tell me, how does it feel to have this many people supporting you late night, a work night, they're coming out to support the rodeo here?
I firmly believe that this is what our city should be like. I love to see us all united like this. We all believe in the common cause and the mission of taking care of youth and giving them opportunities inside of this programming. This is what our city should look like. This is the city that I want my kids to inherit. I'm so happy. The diversity, the cost, everybody's walk is different here, but yet we can unite under one umbrella and one belief. And that's those youth coming up behind us get the opportunities that we have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And tonight we've talked to quite a few people who have been out here. Many of them are actually volunteers with the rodeo, and some of their kids have gotten scholarships over the years, and that's why they fought so hard for Proposition A to pass. So we're going to talk to a few more people tonight, but it's pretty clear that this has become a celebration. Live at the Coliseum, I'm Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Zaria, thank you. Definitely a party out there tonight, a celebration. This looks like, of those two propositions, the one that is solidly moving forward, even with just those early vote totals.
No, thank you, Zaria. It kind of looks like the Frontier Club during rodeo time in February, but certainly a celebration tonight. We were talking the other day about how we're just reminiscing back to when Cody Davenport, that was Cody Davenport, by the way, the CEO of the rodeo, he was here in studio with us, and we were just talking about how in 2003, when it was the SBC Center that was built, and it was great at the time, and they got together and everything, and then the rodeo road trip for the Spurs became a thing, but it became apparent that over the years the two had kind of outgrown each other, and something had to give, and it appears that tonight is the night when something's going to give.
Yeah, he talked when he was on the Q&A with us about how, you go to a Spurs game, people go to the game and they go home.
Right.
But when they come to a rodeo event for competitions, people come in town, they stay for a couple days at a time. That's something that I really hadn't thought of, just about, the differences in the nature of the types of events.
Sure.
That would be a year-round rodeo-style event versus something like an NBA basketball game.
Indeed.
So we have our Garrett Berger on the flip side of things, looking at Proposition B for us tonight.
Yes, with the Spurs not far from where we are here at the River North Ice House, and I suspect that there's a celebratory undertone there with you right now, Garrett.
Yeah, absolutely. We're listening to fans cheering right next to us. They've been chanting pretty much nonstop since the results started coming in. People here already not look like claiming victory. We haven't heard the Spurs actually take the stage yet. We're waiting to see if they do, but the mood here, very light, very happy. We've seen a lot of current and former city officials coming through here. Of course, this has been a city project trying to get a downtown Spurs arena. This is a key vote to make that happen. The overall $1.3 billion deal, it relies on tonight's Proposition B passing to make sure the rest of it can happen. Obviously, a lot of people thinking that it is going to happen tonight. It's got a good start from the looks of the results, at least for the Prop B supporters. But in here, very bouncy mood. We had Judge Sakai come in, address the crowd early on before the results were in. We even saw Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones inside, though she did not have any public comments. We did see her shaking hands. It looked like she had a quick word with Spurs managing partner Peter J. Holt, made her way out. We caught her just before she left. She had a quick word where she said that she's looking forward to negotiations no matter which way the vote goes, and that she was looking forward to the results. Now the results are coming in. Music's loud, crowd's louder. We're going to have to see which way it ends up, but these guys seem to think it's going their way, for sure.
All right, Garrett, and again, right now with the early vote totals that we outlined a little while ago, roughly 53% in favor of, 47% against. That is just Prop B with the early votes.
Yeah, Garrett, thanks so much. We'll check back in with you as the numbers develop, as we get more totals in. And again, if people are just tuning in, just joining us here, expecting by the night's end, by the time every single person that was in line at 7 p.m. when the polls close, by the time they cast their ballot, it will be close to 100,000 people on Election Day, which is, I believe, Michelle Carew, the elections administrator for the county, said that shatters what they were anticipating for Election Day for this election in total.
Right. All right. So we've seen celebrations so far with the rodeo and the kind of the beginning of a celebration, if you will, with the Spurs. Certainly a different tone, if you will, with Cops Metro, where Avery Everett it was at the Friendly Spot in Southtown this evening. And I would imagine they're not loving Avery. They're not loving the results that have come out so far, at least the early voting.
Ernie, Myra, I'm not sure if you can hear me. My earpiece is starting to cut out a little bit, but I did want to say that the energy here is much different than what you're seeing at the rodeo and what you're seeing at the Spurs. But people here are still happy, they're still smiling, and honestly, they're keeping a close eye on the KSAT election live stream, and they're also keeping a close eye on the Bexar County elections results page. They are happy with how many people showed up to the polls tonight, and they're still waiting to go talk to us on camera because they want to see what the rest of the results reveal here in Bexar County. But people are still happy here. There's the energy is still high, and they are starting to fill in from where they were working the polls. I mean, so many of the people that are seated behind me were working all day trying to get people to vote against Proposition B. Now we have another crew across town trying to get to another watch party, the No Project Marble watch party that's happening on the west side of the Esperanza Center. Now that group is against both Proposition A and Proposition B. But we'll continue to keep you updated here as we start to talk to people. And Myra and Ernie, I'll send it back to you for now.
All right, Avery. So a lot of folks there still waiting to see what happens tonight. Again, Bexar County Prop A looks like it is solidly in hand. I know Cops Metro really didn't take a stance on that one. It was Proposition B that they are so very against and wanted to really rally folks to get out and vote no today on that one. That is the closer race here tonight. Here's a look at those numbers right now. Avery, thank you. We'll check back in with you in a moment as we get some more numbers and hopefully that crowd fills in a little bit more where you are.
Right, and again, the graphics you were just seeing are just the early vote totals, but we were just talking to DeMonte and Kevin here. They seem to think Prop A is pretty much settled, done, and Prop B is looking really, really good. So we'll check back in with them in just a little bit. I want to go back to John Paul Barajas right now at the elections office here. We heard from Michelle Carew a little while ago. She said vote totals shattered previous numbers, and you're getting some more information for us, John Paul.
Correct. Shattered was her word exactly. We have over 144,000 people who voted early. We don't have the exact percentages on that just yet, but that's an outstanding number. And then as for Election Day voters, we came fairly close with about 100,000. That's what they're expecting when everything wraps up tonight. They said when they gave us that press conference a few minutes ago, they said they were looking at about 98. They expect it to be closer or above 100,000 by the time everything gets said and done. Because we saw such a large turnout, she was hoping the night would be done around 10:30. She now thinks that's going to be pushed back at least another 30 minutes or so to 11 o'clock. But as far as seeing things close up, this is what they want to see. All these cars right here coming into the back of the elections office, all these red taillights, these are judges or alternative judges who have closed their polling locations. I believe over 280 polling locations here in Bexar County. They have closed, and they're bringing their results here to be tabulated at the Bexar County Elections headquarters. So we already have a long line of traffic of results coming in. Then they have to go inside, obviously go through the system and be tabulated. So still a long night ahead, but things are moving in the right direction. Here in a little bit, we're going to move inside because this location here at the Bexar County Elections headquarters has officially closed as well. And then we'll be getting updates at every 25% reporting. So hopefully another update closer to 10 o'clock, and during our 10 o'clock hour, as soon as we get more, we'll get that to you guys.
All right, John Paul, thank you. You know, that's something I think a lot of people forget about is we all go to the polls and we type in on a computer,
Right.
we hit the screen, vote electronically, but then you take that piece of paper, you walk over to the computer or what kind of looks like a giant trash can, right? And you stick it in there. You feed it in there, and then all of those papers that have to come back to the elections office. So there is still a process that is involved in all of that. So we'll check back in with JP in a bit. To our panelists, now that you've had time to kind of digest some of the early results, we heard John Paul say 144,000 people voted early, expected to be over 100,000 that vote on Election Day. Where do your reactions stand right now?
That's a big turnout for us, especially in this type of election.
And so often we talk about how abysmal the turnout is here.
I know. You know, we get happy when it's above 10%, and that's when you've actually got candidates on the ballot. Yeah. Here, you don't have any candidates on the ballot, and this will easily clear 20%. Mm-hmm. So in a way, it's kind of happy, but in another way, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I almost kind of wonder if we've talked about, election fatigue, and just in a campaign when there are two names, two faces that go with that, it gets ugly, it gets messy. Yeah. There wasn't, maybe because there wasn't a face attached to this, there wasn't a whole lot of
so I think
negativity.
we talk about personalities, right? You don't, you get tired of representing the personalities, but when you do these ballot initiatives, there's no personalities attached to it. And I think people could really just debate the differences in where we spend our resources, which every election should be. Elections, you should run your elections on your background, on your credentials, and what you can do or not do for the community. It shouldn't be the personal attacks and things like that. I think
the merits of a person, is that what you're saying? That's wild.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say was, what we've seen historically in San Antonio is the voters get turned off when it gets nasty, right? And drives turnout down and things like that. But I think what you're seeing here, again, Spurs are exciting. There's not a personality, and I think whether you were for it or against it, I think there was good debate on both sides. It just needs to be more. I think there was valid arguments on the opposition side as far as, hey, and I think on the messaging side is this money can only be spent for certain things. So I think that needed to be out there more, because I think people were like, well, why are we spending this money on this? Well, this is what we can spend it on, right? So there's a lot of intricacies that come with that. But I think when you don't have a personality on the ballot and you have someone as exciting as the Spurs or at the top of the ticket, it makes it exciting.
I want to ask you, I want to follow up on that, because Oklahoma City has just passed, a major arena initiative. They just won an NBA title.
Yeah.
The Spurs obviously have top-tier talent now. They just started the season 5-1. If just for a year ago, or we didn't have Wemby, or the team wasn't winning, how much? I mean, we're Monday morning quarterbacking, I know, but how much could that have played a difference, do you think?
That's a wonderful question. And just like polling, it's all about the climate, the current climate. You can poll people today, and they can be all in favor, and something could happen within a week, and you poll them again, and they're against it. Same thing. So same thing with elections. It's all timing. Who's the opponent? Who's the opposition? Is it raining that day? Did we have a natural disaster the week before
Right.
where people's spirits are down? All that stuff matters. And so timing, you're spot on. The timing of this is absolutely very important.
Yeah, you couldn't, if you were a supporter of Prop B, you couldn't ask for a better start to the NBA season.
Seriously.
And it does matter. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It just brings so much more attention to it. These are the good part, because they're not people we're voting on. You do focus more on the arguments.
Right.
And it's hard to make those arguments. I had somebody come to me, the day before Election Day and tell me they were dead set against Prop B. And I asked why. And they started going, well, I want my money spent on this, and I want my money spent on this. And I spent the next 30 minutes going through each of the different forms of money, what's restricted, what's not, this, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, it took me 30 minutes to have a one-on-one conversation.
Right.
Okay, how do you package that
Right.
into a campaign and get it across in 30 seconds?
So when you heard the term being rushed earlier, that's what happens when you kind of jump a campaign out there, and typically before you launch the campaign, the first thing you get down is the messaging. Before you build a website, before you get a flyer, before you put anything on social, your team comes together, have a strategic communication meeting about, hey, what's our message and what are we going to say, right? And who needs to be at the table, right? Because who you have at the table helps you shape that message. So if you don't have any community people at the message, it's going to look skewed to the community, right? And so all those things are important, but I agree with my colleague here.
Yeah,
100%,
we were even having conversations in this newsroom day in and day out about this is not Project Marvel. We have to be careful about the wording here because, we're trying to clear up the confusion. So, there's plenty of it out there. And this is so nuanced. For some, not everybody, but for some, this became do you support the Spurs or do you not support the Spurs? Was that a mistake?
So I think we got to differentiate thing here. There's reality and then there's a campaign.
Yes.
Right? On the campaign side, that makes sense. If I'm for this proposition, I'm saying, do you want the Spurs here or not? Right? And that's the campaign side. Reality, we all love the Spurs. We all want a great NBA team here and those types of things. But you got to separate the two. Because that sometimes can get misconstrued as reality.
But they were using, it's interesting, they used former Spurs players to really, you didn't hear much of anything from I don't think Victor Wembanyama ever said a word about this.
Well, you have
the
to think
current players.
You also have to think about they have a season to run, right? So they're trying to stay out of the distractions. Right. And things like that. So, I mean, from the campaign side, you love to have those type of resources to deploy. Just like if you do a bond, you want all the city officials to go out and speak and educate people on why this is important. The Spurs did a great job with that campaign and being able to utilize their resources. They hired a great team. That's important too. A lot of folks, the people who do the work, the field organizing, the knocking on the doors, and I was going to say this earlier about the conversation that Kevin had with that one person that took him 30 minutes. Each one of those block walkers who are being paid and are volunteering have to go to each one of those doors and have those conversations over and over in a 4-hour shift, right? And so that's how massive of a project that you have to plan ahead of time to get out and do all those, have all those types of conversations.
Yeah, we need some exit polling on whether Wemby's 360 layup the other night swayed anybody.
That was 200 votes right there.
Yeah.
When you start 5-0, everybody's excited. But you also want those voters who don't ask a lot, hey, you want the Spurs here or not? No, I want them here. I'm going to go vote. I'm not going to ask any other questions.
It'll be interesting to see how many new voters came out.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Because, hey, I'm a Spurs fan, but I never vote. I better go figure out how to vote.
Look, I think, the Spurs matter. The rodeo matters, right? But the real win is when the neighborhoods and the community and all of our partners are included and where they can see their ideas that they brought to the table kind of trickled in there somewhere, right? Where their ideas become part of that investment too. And I think that's the piece that we're missing. But to the point earlier when you talked about we talk about Prop A, we only say the rodeo investment. We only say the rodeo. I think we need to do better at saying, hey, the Prop A is a start to the overall investment into the east side, right? One thing I did want to say is, and I said this earlier to our colleague Steve when he called me on the way, it seems like it's almost like Groundhog's Day again for the east side, right? Because the part that was supposed to be made whole for the east side not only was the investment, but it was connecting the east side to downtown because it's separated by by the highway. Guess what happens? Not enough funding, so what happens? They pull the project because there's a federal money there, right? So here you go again, another blow, like, okay, this is supposed to be something for the east side to take care of the east side, and it's removed. And so we gotta really take a step back and really think about the divestment that's happened on the east side over decades and really figure out what a true investment looks like. I love what the rodeo is gonna do. As someone who's a fan of the rodeo, I try to go as many days as possible. And I love their mission and what they do for kids and those types of things, because believe me, that community needs it. Every community needs it, but especially a community that has been divested in for decades. Yeah. But I want to, since these are going to pass, I want to see them be now proactive into how they spread that across the entire community where it uplifts everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Rodeo is a starting point for that.
Okay. Starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, well, that's a good place to take a break and collect our thoughts here. We're going to step aside for a moment. Much more to come here on our special election night stream here on KSAT Plus. Don't go away. All right, we continue on as we approach the 9 o'clock hour here on KSAT Plus. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get back to props A and B here in just a little bit, but there are so many other things happening in smaller communities, in particular Northeast ISD, that will certainly affect people who are paying attention to those races.
Yeah, not to mention 17 constitutional amendment proposals for the state of Texas. Voters across the state weighing in on those tonight. So let's take a look at the results that we do have. Northeast ISD, this is their big one. Prop A would authorize more than $400 million for any ISD to do all that you see here: build, renovate, upgrade facilities, roofs, HVACs, buying new buses and vehicles. Let's take a look at how voters at any ISD are weighing in on that one tonight. 60% for, again, this is just early vote totals, against 40% tonight. Looks like that one's going to pass.
All right, so that's Northeast ISD, again, that $400 million bond in Prop A. All right, also back to the constitutional amendments, and there are a number of them. We'll highlight a couple of them here. Proposition 3, that amendment that requires denying bail in certain cases for people accused of specific felony offenses.
For 64% against 36%. This one easily going to pass tonight as well. Next one, we're going to kind of go out of order. We're not following the numerical order here because there were some that definitely had more attention on them, more interest from voters than others. So what's our next proposition up here tonight to take a look at? Prop 4. This is the one that creates the Texas Water Fund. This is something that would use sales tax to pour into this fund starting in 2 years, I believe, 2027, to really create a something that would, kind of shore up water supply and infrastructure across the state. This one overwhelming support as well.
Again, that's Proposition 4. And now we're going to move on to Proposition 7. That's the constitutional amendment allowing the legislature to exempt all or part of the home value from property tax for the surviving spouse of a veteran who died from a condition presumed to be service-related. We had the Bexar County tax collector, Albert Uresti, here talking about property taxes and these amendments earlier. He was breaking down some of this. And again, this is another one that overwhelmingly will be passing here, 86% in favor of Proposition 7.
Not the only one focused on tax exemptions here. This is Prop 10 rather, a tax exemption for homes that have been destroyed by a fire. So this is a home that's undergone damage from a fire, unlivable for at least 30 days or more, exempting people from taxes during that time for 90% across the state. There are some that were very specific in these proposals. Prop 11, though, that's another school tax exemption. This is for folks who are over 65 or homeowners who are disabled. It would increase the homestead exemption for those groups for up to $60,000. That one's going to pass as well. Historically, these related to increasing property tax exemptions do very well, and voters typically say yes.
All right, so that's Prop 11. On to Prop 13 here, an increased school tax exemption for all homeowners. So this will get a lot of people's attention. Again, Albert Uresti talked about this earlier. It would increase the exemption to $140,000 instead of the current $100,000. And again, another overwhelming result right now, again, in favor of Proposition 13.
So we also have, while there are 17 different propositions on the ballot, by the way, if you're on KSAT.com watching this, you can cruise through all the election results we have, or if you're watching us on KSAT Plus or YouTube, check out our website for all the latest results. We've got some other local elections, not here.
Yeah, this is
in
the
San
mayor,
Antonio.
the mayor of Schertz here, Ralph Rodriguez, who is the fire chief of Bexar County ESD #2 and a lifelong Schertz resident right now. This is very close right now. Ralph Gutierrez is the incumbent. He has been in office since 2019. He served on the city council. He's retired military, and pretty close here, pretty tight, 51 to 49%. Did you say that's 100%?
This is just early
Okay.
vote totals,
Yeah,
correct? And then
all right.
we're going to head over to
Converse.
Yeah, City of Converse. This is where the mayor's race is happening as well. Al Suarez, Emilio Silvas. Looks like Al Suarez is going to take this one. He's currently the mayor, has been since 2007, so the incumbent winning another term tonight, a 10th term in office as the mayor of Converse.
All right, on to Cibolo now. And again, Kara Latimer and Terry Hinsey right now vying for the mayor in the city of Cibolo right now, 57% for Latimer to Hinsey's 43%.
Latimer would be a newcomer to this office. The current mayor, Mark Allen, is not seeking re-election because of term limits, so he is termed out. In the city of Windcrest, Dan Reese, the incumbent here, looks like he is going to get a 4th term as well.
Yeah, he's retired Air Force. He served on the city council, and he was actually the chief of the Windcrest Fire Department. And again, it looks like he will continue to be the mayor in the city of Windcrest.
All right, so as we are still waiting for a day of totals, we're going to keep an eye on those things as well. But do we have any other propositions that we want to take a look at, Landon? Most of those, I know, some of them are, pretty niche.
Right.
But the ones that people really are paying attention to, I think, are the water fund
Proposition
as well
1.
as the tax exemptions.
So Prop 1 is involving Texas State Technical College funding. This would, and yeah, Devin Karp, our colleague, did at least 1 or 2 stories on this, but this would create an endowment for the state's technical college program. TSTC cannot issue bonds, so they would use this to fix infrastructure, upgrade equipment, and expand. So that's Proposition 1, and it looks like it's going to pass.
How about our panelists? You guys have any reaction to these propositions? A question that I always have anytime there is an increase in a tax exemption is, what about public school funding? That pot of money seems to dwindle by the day. And I understand property taxes are, something that have been skyrocketing. So balancing that stuff.
So the vast majority of all of these propositions are in some form of property tax, anti-property tax. And some of them do have the possibility of affecting school districts.
Yeah.
All right. It's, they are so niche though. Okay. The one with the veterans, everybody's going to vote to. This is a spouse of a veteran who died of a.
Right. Yes.
Really niche.
Yes.
Okay. But yes, to your point, Myra, it does. It picks away at the base of schools. We sat here and we talked all night long about a $311 million Prop B. And you just showed NEISD $400 million prop. All right, so you see just how important that property tax base is to schools, and anytime you impact it, you know who you're impacting, right? It's our kids.
Yeah.
And so, while I call these mostly political propositions. They sing to a certain base because nobody wants to pay property tax.
And coming out of a legislative session, I mean, we see this every
all
time.
the time.
Yeah, I think this is look, I mean, a lot of those, some of those I like, right? But I think at the end of the day, when you look at all 17 of them, they're sending a message of, hey, we want to give you, and in the past, when you run that campaign, hey, we've given you property tax relief in this past legislative session, right? To your point about schools and property taxes, I don't think we talk enough about the maintenance of, because that's where the majority of those property taxes go to, is the maintenance of the schools, right? Until we can figure that out, it's going to be a huge issue, and especially if we're not funding schools the way we need to fund, where's this money going to come from to continue?
That's a great point, DeMonte. So few voters really understand the difference between a capital campaign piece, build a new school, and the O&M, the operations and maintenance, and that's where the huge difference is. It's analogous to the city. At the city, they call it the general fund. The general fund has no restrictions on it. It's used for O&M, it's operations, it's maintenance. There's a bunch spent over here on capital.
Right.
Okay. But capital is one-time expenditures.
You're talking about when a school district issues a bond.
It
could be hundreds of millions of dollars. That is one pot of money. They cannot pull from that pot of money to keep the lights on and to buy fuel for school buses.
I can't hire more teachers.
Fix the HVAC, make sure the heaters work.
You got it.
Right, and so when people look, when you go look at your property tax bill, when you look at it, go look at that little piece and it says maintenance, and you'll see how much you're paying for maintenance. It outweighs any of the hospital, the sewage, and all that other stuff. It's the maintenance that we need to solve at the state level.
Yeah, I hate to say this again, but there is a KSAT explains for explaining the M&O and the INS rate.
But there are so many campuses in our area that are aging. I mean, they're not getting any newer, obviously. And and the materials are not getting any cheaper.
Well, Kevin pointed out something to me about which one's passed and which one's failed. You want to talk about that? No. We'll leave it alone. We'll leave it alone.
Fair enough.
Secrets among panelists. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and 2 hours now after polls have closed. Still waiting on some numbers. We'll be right back. back to the KSAT newsroom. 2 hours now after polls have closed, and so far we have taken a look at early vote numbers, but because of an incredible turnout throughout the early voting period, but especially today on Election Day, we are still waiting for the numbers to be much more final than they are right now. 100,000 people expected to have voted today, which we heard the elections administrator say shattered the expectation, especially for an election like this.
Was it 144,000 voted early?
Early voted.
So yeah, these are numbers that I don't think anybody expected, and so that is likely accounting for the delay here. But if you're just joining us, it appears, according to our panel, based on the early returns here, that Proposition A, can I say lock? Is that it's okay? I wanna make sure I don't want to put words in your mouth. And B is looking really good, but again, that's just based on some of the early returns that we've seen so far.
Yeah, we have had a crew down at election headquarters for the county. Our John Paul Barajas is down there right now. He has spoken to the elections administrator a couple of times and really kind of watched that line that was in full effect at 7 o'clock when polls closed. But just a little while ago, there were only a few people left in line, I believe. So hopefully, John Paul, everybody has gone through that line now. And John Paul is now inside the elections headquarters. Give us kind of a lay of the land of how things are looking in there right now and any expectation we have on some more numbers.
Well, you just said it. I'm finally inside. We've done a handful of elections, or I've done a handful of elections here in Bexar County, and when you make it inside to election headquarters, you're moving in the right direction. You're getting closer to the finish line and the end of the night. You guys said it, shattering, record-breaking type numbers that we've seen. So shattering, staggering. We've obviously staggered back when we were hoping to be done. We were hoping to be done around 10:30. The elections administrator now predicts will be done closer to 11 o'clock. And just talking about some of those numbers, Election Day voters, close to or above 100,000 people voting today on November 4th. And early voting numbers over 144,000. So those numbers just absolutely outstanding. And it's kind of what they've been saying since 11 a.m. when they first started holding press conferences on Election Day, was just strong voting turnout, strong voting turnout. Same thing at 4 o'clock, and then about 8:20, 8:15 when Michelle Carew, the elections administrator, came out to us then, again, stayed with the same narrative of a strong voter turnout. Luckily, it now seems like a lot of these polling locations are closing. We've seen a heavy stream of vehicles coming into the back of election headquarters, which are all county judges and alternative judges who are bringing in their results from their respective polling locations. Then the process starts with tabulation. Again, another long process. So hopefully we'll start getting some numbers and results for all those people who voted today. It's about 9:08 right now. The elections administrator told us that she'll be in here in front of this backdrop and podium trying to give us an update shortly before 10 o'clock. As you mentioned, Prop A looks like it's going to pass. Prop B looking strong. If you're against Prop B, you're going to want to pay attention closely to see if people who turned out today gave enough of a push to make it go in their favor. So again, a lot to be determined, and as soon as we get more, we'll bring that to you.
All right, John Paul, thank you so much. Live from the elections headquarters there downtown tonight, where he has made it inside, which is progress for all of us.
Very good.
That means
it's a good sign.
Numbers are closer to coming our way.
So we haven't forgotten about some of the school districts. We showed Northeast ISD a little while ago, their $400 million bond that was on the ballot tonight, and it's looking good for Northeast ISD. But we had the panel here because we were talking about two other districts, East Central ISD and Judson ISD, and it appears that they are not going to have the same result Northeast is having tonight.
Yeah, and we were talking about, okay, why is that? Is it because they don't put together a good enough campaign? We're not really sure. But when we look at the financial viability of those particular districts, any ISD, Northside, comparatively strong financially. Judson, East Central, needing more infrastructure, needing those dollars more, but not getting them. And so,
by the way, I was just going to say, Judson right now it's 61% against, so it's 61-39.
Yeah.
And then East Central is 55 against, 45 for.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not super close either.
No, it's not.
No, those are way outside.
They're done.
Yeah, they're done.
Okay, those, there's no way for them to come back from that. So now you've got two major school districts that have to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, what are we going to do?
Well, I was talking to Kevin about was number one, we talked about some of the issues some of these schools have had. Not that Northside or anybody hasn't, but in recent times, these schools have not performed well, right? And so it could be a combination of, hey, when they're not performing well, the parents feel like they're not performing well, but then you ask for this big ticket item, don't think so, that doesn't match up, right? It could be
You're talking about test scores and grades and like that kind of stuff?
That or board performance.
Or board performance,
okay.
yes,
If you're on one of those boards and you end up on y'all show for doing something stupid,
right?
That's going to hurt the next bond election.
Right, and so those can play into it. Also, the type of campaign you put together as well. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of topsy-turvy in terms of where the investment should go, especially when the state's not really investing in education.
Yeah, and
this
so often,
season,
you know, the financial viability, like you mentioned, of a school district is determined by the community around it. When you're looking at a time when every community is dealing with the high cost of things, you know, greater layoffs, if you're looking at the folks that are paying taxes in East Central ISD, those that are paying taxes in Judson ISD, could that just be a reflection of people saying, look,
could be.
We are looking at every dollar in our own personal budget.
We're
It's not
tapped out.
something that we can
Well,
contribute right
not to bring up a ghost of Christmas past, when we talk about how many school districts we have and why we have those school districts and why this whole merger conversation is not happening, because some school districts don't want to share their tax dollars with certain school districts because of their certain demographics. That's a KSAT explains. but I think what you're seeing with Judson and East Central is it's a larger conversation around what's happening historically. Some fair and some not fair.
Yeah.
And so I think that we don't have enough time on this panel to talk about that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that those pass where the investment is really needed.
All right, there's more time and explains.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Okay, I want to take a look at two NEISD bonds, I believe, that are incredibly tight right now. Let's pull some graphics up for those.
Those are props, what, C and E?
Okay, so prop C, here's the explanation of what it is. Baseball, tennis, soccer, a lot of athletic facilities. All right, so let's go to the results for that one.
Oh,
wow.
50-50. What's
That's
the margin
interesting.
between these two?
It's a 109 vote margin right now. 109 votes.
This is for the
votes separating
for
these.
sports and stuff like that.
That surprises me. Just, I mean, again, maybe it's just the sports fan in me coming out, because I mean, sports are a big deal. Football.
Well, they just passed a $400 million one.
Yeah.
And now you're asking for another 30 million to, like
Remember, in the grander scheme of things, especially in these larger school districts, the vast majority of your kids are not necessarily in the popular sports and those types of things. And so when you see a proposition that is strictly for sports, it's always going to be a fight like that.
Can you explain again to the untrained voter, whatever, like why wasn't that just looped in together, lumped in together with the bigger $400 million?
So
go ahead. I got a theory.
Some of it is strategic in nature. So
he's going to touch on it.
You're the board, okay? You know you have to get this $400 million one passed. Okay, and so you don't want to do what the legislature does with good bills and put Christmas ornaments on it. Okay,
I see.
So you want it separated out like that, so you don't increase the risk of your major bond not passing.
Now we had that in San Antonio a few years ago, where it was like, well, why didn't we separate these to where community can vote on them separately? I think with our last propositions, let's vote on them separately, because people like some, didn't like the others, but. I knew he was going to touch on it. You don't want that nasty bomb on there. You want that to pass or fail on its own. We want our money. We want our money.
Enough.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I understand we're getting another update from the elections administrator down at the elections office with John Paul.
We're going to up the.
Hearing from Michelle Carew.
We're going to up the volume. I'm going to do a quick mic check. I know we're on a live stream right now. Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Yeah, if you're keeping tabs.
How we sounding, fellas?
2 hours and 15 minutes after polls close, but still
Good.
only have early
I think we're ready.
Oh, wait, I'm not ready. I'm okay, now
They'll start coming in faster too.
Okay. Okay.
Because they brought in boxes and boxes.
I saw the line of the judges pulling in.
Coming a lot faster
It was nonstop.
We
there's
have
John
some
Paul
that
right
just
there.
closed their polls. So we'll talk more about that. I don't have an exact number, but I have a roundabout number until I come back at 50% reporting.
Okay, so we're about to hear for 25% reporting.
Yes.
25%
You're good?
reporting.
All right, Michelle,
We're ready? Okay.
whenever you're ready. Stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, everybody. I'm here to report 25% of Election Day. These numbers are reflective of both early voting and Election Day, and I'm going to start with Bexar County Prop A with 57.27%, currently the 4. Bexar County Prop B with 52.99% is 4. For the mayor, City of Converse with 53.45% is Al Suarez. For City Council, place 1 with the City of Converse with 52.20% is Stephanie Gonzalez. City of Converse, place 3 with 61.22%.
All right, so we come back here. Those are essentially, unless I'm
Place
misreading
5
this,
with
these are essentially the same numbers that we saw with the earlier. This is
Stacey
25% of the vote in, but it's essentially
For
the same.
Mayor of Schertz, 51.95% is Ralph Gutierrez.
50-50,
Council,
yeah.
place 1 for the City of
It didn't
Schertz.
change the
We have
number.
Mark
57 was before,
Davis.
right?
Unopposed.
Now, Prop B went down
For place
a point.
2 of Schertz,
So that means
with
out of that 25%,
70.05%
more people against came out to vote in that 25%. So it drives
Still
the number
nowhere
down.
near enough to
No,
affect the
it's only,
outcome.
well, like I said, no, but like I said, we talked about that 80-20, 90-10 number, right? And if it keeps trending that way, we'll see what they can make up. This
Hey,
may
don't be me on the mayor election night where I kept saying, oh, it's still within the margin. It's still within the margin. It's still.
well, what I mean is this is what we talked about, how what you can make up on election day and what you can't. So sometimes the campaigns have a different strategy on election day, and like I've been on campaigns where we kick butt on election day, like 3-1.
Yeah.
And we caught up, but it wasn't enough, right? But
Yeah.
so what you'll probably see, depending on what the strategy was for Cops Metro and the team on their ground today, they could have gained some ground, and so you'll start to see that number get a little bit closer. I don't think it's enough to overtake it, but you'll probably see it come down where it's a little tighter than initially came out.
Yeah, and if people didn't hear what you were talking about earlier, maybe just joining us about that 80-20, 90-10, you were basically saying, given the numbers right now for Prop B, it would have to be an overwhelming amount of people who voted against it today.
Yeah, so
for it to
typically
fail.
once you see the early vote come out, there's a magic number. Kevin talks about 54% is what you want to see. On election day, it's a 4% margin of error is what you want to see.
Right.
Hopefully a 3, right? Because you can make that difference up on election day. That you can kind of overtake it if you have the right strategy and you turn out more voters on election day. And so with it being 53, 40, what?
It was
So
53-47.
They were just outside of the area where they can make it back, but not really.
Right.
But it's close. And
So you take that 25%, we'll
Right.
start with A,
Right.
and it's split 50-50.
Right.
On B, it's split pretty close to 50-50, and they need to split 80-20.
Yes. That's a better explanation.
Okay.
Yeah. So to my point earlier, the 20 out of
The
the
math
25.
is still mathing, as you said.
Not the way I said it, but yeah, the way Kevin said it. Yeah. But again, we got to remind people this is just 25%. This is not the election day. That's why I keep saying this is just 25%.
This is at
But
least our first glimpse at
But if the
some
next
of election
25%
day.
comes out and it's still the same, yeah, it's a wrap. Like I said, it has to be 80-20 at least, minimum.
Okay, we can send you home then if that's the case.
Carry the one.
Yeah.
Two,
It's too much math.
something. Okay, we're going to check in with our Garrett Berger. Is that right?
Yes.
Still over at River North Ice House,
thing
where the
better not be
Spurs are having their
51-49.
watch party and definitely watching how the math is mathing. Let's go to Garrett right now. It's been really a party all night long. Seems to be the same kind of vibe, Garrett.
Yeah, a lot of cheering, a lot of chanting, a lot of celebrating all around here. It feels like a club night or a game night. This isn't your normal election party. The vibe in here is very much upbeat ever since those early vote numbers came out, and they actually just updated on the election website showing what y'all were just talking about with some of those other results coming in. But well, we haven't seen Spurs officials actually take the stage since early results came in. The crowd here definitely very excited, obviously very optimistic, and the vibe is that they think that they're going to pull this out. As you mentioned, the math would be hard for the opposition to overcome. Now, this is a critical vote for a possible new Spurs arena. Technically, Proposition B is only about the county's share of the funding, up to $311 million out of $1.3 billion. But the larger funding scheme relies on Prop B passing. So this is a critical vote tonight. It's the only part of the funding that requires a public vote. Now, it's possible that we're not done here. Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones, who has been skeptical about the current funding arrangement, has suggested that the city could hold another vote on its own portion of the funding. Now, that's far from certain that that would happen, but it has been something she's floated before. Now, while she's been skeptical, and it looks like they are taking the stage. We're going to switch over to their mics so you can hear what Peter J. Holt has to say.
Hey, what do y'all think? Listen, what a great start to the night, right? Y'all showed up, San Antonio showed up, Bexar County showed up. What an incredible start. Listen, we've been here before though. We can't count the win until all the votes are counted, okay? So, we're gonna keep partying, we're gonna keep celebrating the Spurs. It's a great start though. We're gonna win this election. It's gonna come through, but we gotta wait till all the votes are counted. So the drinks are flowing, the food is great. Let's keep having a great time. Go Spurs!
I think we lost Garrett's mic.
Yeah, we had to
First
switch.
remark we've
Oh, there we
heard
go.
from the Spurs since they actually came in. Yeah, that was the first remark we've heard from Spurs officials since they.
Yeah, okay, no, Garrett was just saying, yeah, essentially that was the first time we've heard anything from the Spurs. That he had seen Peter J. Holt walking around, but that was the first time, obviously, he was on the stage, and he seemed pretty optimistic about what's happening.
Still celebratory, but still saying it's not a win yet.
Yeah. Okay, are we going to Cops
Being
Metro now, you
respectful,
said?
yeah.
Okay, let's get to Avery Everett is with the people at Cops Metro who obviously are presumably not loving this result, and I believe we're going to hear from them right now. Cops Metro.
We are very, very impressed at the voter turnout. That what we have been able to do is see our community rise to this, and they see this as probably one of the most important issues they'll face in a lifetime. And so we're very pleased with the number of people voting. Right now, we are very confident that it is important that we wait for every vote to be counted. So right now, we are aware that the votes are showing that there are more people in favor of Prop B, and we are hoping that that changes. But we are an organization that respects the will of the voter, and right now we are not conceding by any means, but we are saying that we are very happy to see how many people have voted in early voting and how important they believe their voice is in this whole issue.
What does that show about Bexar County and the issues on the ballot this go around?
Well, it shows that people love the Spurs, and I think that that's something that we all say. But with the number of people that have come out to vote, they are also people who have helped articulate a vision that says affordable housing, safe neighborhoods, long-term job training with high-paying jobs, safety and security in our communities, that these issues are absolutely essential, and they turned out to help set that vision. And so we are committed to whichever way this turns out to work with our elected officials, with our business leaders, and with the citizenry of San Antonio to create a vision that does not do one at the expense of the other, but that both of them are lifted up and they are addressed going forward.
So regardless of the outcomes tonight, y'all are still dedicated to the community here, and you're going to keep them at the forefront of this conversation.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it in the forefront of the conversation, and we will respect the will of the voter. But again, our whole goal is to create a sense of unity as we move forward.
Y estamos muy orgullosos por todos los votantes que han salido
All right, so one of the leaders of the community organizing group, Cops Metro, that has been very against Prop B using county dollars to pay for the Spurs arena, saying that they are really kind of saying something I think that everybody on both sides of this issue could agree with, that voter turnout has been impressive. Yeah. That has been a highlight for everyone, I think, tonight. Seeing the number of people that were still in line at 7 o'clock, but also saying that, you know, they're still waiting to see how that impacts, how that impressive turnout on election day impacts those numbers.
Right, okay, and the numbers appear to be trending in favor of Prop A tonight, which impacts, of course, the Rodeo, the East Side, the Freeman Coliseum, Prospect Center, that footprint over there. Zaria Oates has been hanging out with Cody Davenport and the people at the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo tonight. And no doubt they're having a good time and enjoying this result as well, Zaria.
Yeah, a much different vibe over here. A lot of people are very excited to be out here tonight. We're seeing people who have volunteered with the rodeo for 1 year, all the way up to people who have volunteered with the rodeo for so many years. We actually have someone with one of the committees here from the rodeo, Eliza, and tell me just what has it been like being here at this event? Why was it so important for you to be here?
Well, the San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo is looking forward to the future, and we're excited about the plans that we have, and our mission is to straighten the community and to educate our Texas youth.
That's awesome. And how long have you been with the rodeo?
This will be my second year.
Awesome.
But
So,
I've lived in San Antonio my entire life.
so you know how much or how important the rodeo is to not only you, not only the students, but the entire city. Why do you think Proposition A will help advance the goals of the rodeo?
It's not just the rodeo. Upgrading these facilities, it'll help bring concerts, fairs, other events, which will bring more visitors to San Antonio, provide more jobs, and also help local businesses, make money.
That's awesome. What does it feel like seeing so many people come out here to be so excited about something, and then also to see this go in your favor? The results are coming, and we're seeing that Proposition A is doing very well. How does that feel?
It's a great feeling because it's all going back to our community. It's going back to our youth. That's how the rodeo, originally started, was to promote the education of our youth and help them. The rodeo also provides a lot of scholarships to our youth, and so that helps them with their future. A lot of people don't know the scholarships aren't just for students that are raising animals. It's also for students that want to pursue other types of education. It's not just the kids that want to work with animals. So it reaches a much bigger crowd.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you're happy to be here, and so many other people are happy to be here. I mean, we've talked to several people who are out here, people who have been part of the rodeo, like she was mentioning, but also those students. There are so many people here who, as students, they got those scholarships, and then they came back as adults to volunteer with the rodeo. And then this year, they voted in favor of Proposition A and advocated for it for months. So this is kind of a full circle moment for a lot of the people that are out here tonight. There are still hundreds of people inside, outside, in the other room, in the VIP area. So they are really making sure that they're seeing this through to the end, even though Proposition A is already doing so well. We'll have all the updates later tonight at 10 p.m. as those final results come through. But for now, I'm live at the Coliseum. Zaria Oates, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Zaria, thank you. A party out there tonight. Looks like Proposition A is pretty much well in hand tonight for the rodeo.
57 with the 25% vote in that we heard a little while ago, roughly 57% in favor up to 43%, which again, if we're just talking to our panel, seems to be a deficit, an insurmountable deficit. So we're going to let Kevin and DeMonte have a little breather here. We're going to step aside and have much more on our special election night coverage here on KSAT Plus. Don't go away.
hanging with us here for our election night live stream here at KSAT. It's been a long night, but one that we have been anticipating for weeks and months to see how the community would weigh in on propositions A and B and so many other things that are on the ballot, especially for school districts and, look at props across the state. So this is one of the big ones. Proposition A, 57%. Passing tonight. We know that we only have 25% of precincts reporting as far as Bexar County numbers go, but looks like this one is in hand. This would take county dollars, roughly $200 million, put them toward Frost Bank Center as well as the Coliseum to create year-round rodeo-style events. The rodeo would become the main tenant there at that complex.
All right, and on to Proposition B now, the one tied to the downtown Spurs Arena and more Project Marvel, those kinds of things. You've seen so much with the TV commercials and the Spurs, the flyers and the mailers and everything. A closer margin right now, but it appears to be trending in favor of passing tonight. Again, this is with 25% of the vote in right now, 53% to 47%. And that margin, I know I want to talk to DeMonte and Kevin about here in just a little bit. We'll talk to the panel here momentarily.
Yeah, we've got a lot of school districts that have bond elections, special elections. This was an interesting one. This was one essentially asking community members, asking taxpayers for more money, because as we have talked about here on this panel throughout the night, the influx of state dollars and even local dollars with additional property tax exemptions, that's really dwindling for public schools. So this one failing, 55% of voters voting this one down in East Central ISD.
Also in converse, Judson ISD again, and even by a wider margin, this has failed. Proposition A, or it is failing pretty substantially right now, 61% to 39% right now, 39%. Again, they're in Judson ISD, Proposition A.
So let's go now to Northeast ISD, where there was a slew of props for any ISD. This was the big one, though. Prop A asking for more than $400 million to do a lot of different things, renovations, infrastructure, a lot of things of that nature. 60% of people in any ISD voting for this whopper for $400 million.
All right, and then some of the additional props here. Prop C, this is for the athletics. We talked about a little more than $29 million in bonds to upgrade athletic facilities for baseball, tennis, and some other sports. And it can't get much closer than that. What was that, about 240 votes right now?
About 200 votes,
roughly. There again for Proposition C with $29 million on the line for upgrades again to athletic facilities at Northeast ISD.
Neck and neck.
Another one in any ISD, I believe we have as well. Let's take a look here. Prop E. This one also incredibly close. 82 votes is the difference here. So, turns out we've been paying so much attention to props A and B. The focus on the neck and neck race is what's happening over in any ISD.
And to be clear for these, you only need to win by one vote, right?
Yes.
We will keep tabs on this one for sure as the night continues.
They probably ask for a recount if that's close, but it still has a little bit of ways to go.
All right. I wanted to get back to the panel here. We have a few more minutes before we get ready for the night beat at 10 o'clock on KSAT 12. And we were talking about Prop B, the Spurs Arena and everything. And we saw Peter J. Holt address the crowd not too long ago. And you brought out, I thought, a very good point about how this is not a landslide by any means. It looks like it's going to go the Spurs' way tonight.
Yeah.
But Peter Holt's going to have some work to do after tonight is over.
Yeah, not only Peter Holt, but everyone that's on the team trying to move this project forward. 47% is not anything to sneeze at, right? Yeah. That means a lot of people still were in opposition of this project. And so what I loved, what the Cops Metro guys said was, hey, regardless of what happens, we're going to respect the voters, but we also want to continue to do that work. What I'm hoping Peter Holt comes out and says, hey, look, we won this, but obviously there's a lot of people who still have questions about what we want to do as a team and as a community. So I'm looking forward to working with them and seeing how we can move forward together, and so we can get even more support from that side. And so I'm hoping that that's the message that needs to come out. I think that's the right message. I don't think this is the time to be beating our chests about, hey, we won this. You know, it's not a slam dunk by any means. And to me, if I'm on the ballot, I'm more concerned about those 47% who said no.
There's about 245,000 people that voted.
Right, and I want to understand why and how I can win some of those. You're never going to get 100% of them, but I at least want 20% more of those folks to say, hey, I'll sit down and listen and see where we can find some common ground on how we can move forward together.
Yeah.
And that's what I would be trying to focus on.
Yeah, and based off of his short comments that he made, he didn't come out there, beating his chest and saying, no, he was very humble. He was kind. He was saying, we're feeling good, but we're not there yet. That type of thing. To your point, I certainly think he's smart enough to know that, okay, yeah, there are 47% of the people out there that didn't like this for whatever reason. They may love us as the Spurs, but they didn't like this deal.
Right.
How do I continue to help convince them that this is the right way to go?
Yeah, working, in county government for as long as you did, can you kind of give us some perspective on if A and B, they pass tonight, what are next steps for the county in terms of using these dollars?
Yeah, so this is where, devil's in the details, right? And this is where you really start to get down to it and get down to the stuff that DeMonte has mentioned a number of times tonight. And that's how to truly get your local community that this is going to have the most impact on, what are the effects of that? And that process is just as hard, in some cases harder, than actually putting together an election. The amount of campaigning you have to do for that, the amount of outreach that you have to do, it's daunting. And you're going to get just as many different opinions as you would in a normal election cycle. So, what one neighbor wants is not what another neighbor wants. And trying to organize that and truly get a fairly consensus message out of the local community there, that's what starts right now.
You can see what Dr. Sook said, District 1 said about Lavaca and her neighborhood saying, hey, we just want sidewalks and streets. The east side needs completely different things. They need infrastructure as well, but to your point, those needs are different. But I would say this is just one of those maybe 3 or 4 major hurdles. They got past this one. Now, because you have to go sit down with the mayor and talk about what the city portion looks like. Is she's going to ask for this to be public, and what go throughout this fight is not over, right? But this is an opportunity for both folks to say, hey, look, that was brutal. Let's come to the table. I don't want to get hit in my eye again. Let's sit down and talk about what really community involvement looks like. Let's look, if we talk about it, we need a better deal. What does that look like? And who needs to be at the table from these neighborhoods in the community? So they can feel like that. Some of we've had, how many events, town halls do they have on the east side? Yeah. I don't think they've seen not one of their things that they promoted been mentioned yet, right? And so when do they see all the time we spent and getting them to the table and asking them their opinions, when do they start to see some of their vision kind of sprinkle out in hey, this is what's going to happen?
Yeah, some evidence that their voices are
right. You want them to feel like their vision and some of the stuff, their voices are they can feel it and touch it as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's the work that still needs to be done.
DeMonte and Kevin, always appreciate you guys being here on election night, offering all this insight and then some.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Kevin Wolf, former city councilman, former county commissioner. DeMonte Alexander, CEO of Citizen Reach. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We'll do it again next time.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you.
We're going to remember this night for a long time, I think.
Yeah, we're going to wrap things up here as far as our live stream is concerned. Of course, we're just about 20 minutes away from our night beat where you and Stefania will be taking over there. But we do want to mention that we are going to have full screen results, all the graphics with the numbers on results as those numbers may change on KSAT Plus as well.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Again, feel free to flip over and join us at the top of the hour. Stephanie and I for the night beat. Thank you, by the way, for staying late, helping me out with all this.
Wouldn't miss it.
Awesome. Okay,
first
very good.
election night live stream. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for watching us here on KSAT Plus. We'll see you on the night beat at 10.